Thank you. Good morning, colleagues. I now convene the February 12th, 13th, 2026 meeting of the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. I'm so very sorry not to be with you in person this morning. To facilitate our meeting and ensure that all are heard, I have asked Executive Director Sandy to call on individuals as I cannot see everyone around the table. The Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act for teleconference meetings requires that Commission members who are attending the meeting via teleconference to disclose if any other individuals 18 years of age or older are present in the room at the remote location and the general nature of the member's relationship with any such individuals. I have no such disclosures. Commissioner De La Torre?
No disclosures.
Commissioner Cruz?
No disclosures.
Liaison Rodriguez?
No disclosures.
Thank you. Commissioners who are participating via Zoom must be visible at all times on camera. Please log off Zoom if you need to leave the meeting and log in when you're ready to rejoin the meeting. If you experience broadband or internet connectivity problems while participating in the meeting, that would be remedied by joining without video. You must announce the reason for your non-appearance when you turn off your camera. We'll now take roll call. Recording Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Lynette Brown. Here. Catherine Williams Brown.
Here.
Jose Cardenas.
Present.
Juan Cruz.
Here.
Michael De La Torre.
Present.
Scott Erickson.
Present.
Anna Marie Francois.
Present.
Makita Quino Shire.
Present.
Ira Lit.
Present.
Mencius.
Here.
Green Palvery.
Present.
D. Redfern.
Present.
A. Simmons.
Here.
Simpson.
Here.
Forrest.
Present.
Use off. So we are good to go.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Torres, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
The flag,
Allegiance to the flag.
United States of America, nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I would like to remind everyone about the meeting procedures before we get to today's agenda. This meeting is being conducted at the Commission office and via teleconference. We have commissioners participating from the Commission building and also via Zoom. The public has the option to attend the general session of the meeting at the Commission office or participate remotely through Zoom webcast or U.S. toll-free phone number. The meeting room technology includes built-in microphones, speakers, cameras, and monitors. Please note the ceiling microphones are always on and will pick up everything that is said at all times. So please be mindful that anything that is said in this room will be captured on the archived recording of the meeting. Therefore, side conversation should be kept to a minimum, if at all, while in this room. Members that are participating by Zoom or are connected to the Zoom meeting, please mute your laptop speakers, microphones, and mute yourselves on the Zoom video. Commissioners attending the meeting via Zoom that would like to speak, please use the raise hand feature in Zoom. Because this is a hybrid meeting, we will need to conduct each vote by roll call. We would like to ask the members of the public who attend the meeting via Zoom and would like to make public comment to check their Zoom identification. Your Zoom identification is the name used when logging into the meeting. It is important that the Zoom identification is accurate so we can call on you appropriately during public comment. Next, we will cover public comment procedures. The committee chair will announce when the public comment period is open during the presentation of the agenda item and ask for anyone who wishes to comment to notify the meeting moderator. Individuals who attend the meeting at the Commission office will need to submit a request to address the Commission card to the meeting moderator. The meeting moderator will notify the individual when it is their turn to speak. At that time, the individual will be able to approach the podium and share their comments. Individuals who join the meeting via the Zoom webcast will need to click on the raise hand icon to inform the meeting moderator that they would like to speak on the item. The moderator will notify the individual when it is their turn to speak by calling their Zoom ID. At that time, the individual will be prompted to unmute their microphone and will be able to share their comment. The Zoom ID name used by the members of the public to join the Zoom meeting will be displayed to the public when the individual provides public comment. Individuals who join the meeting through the U.S. toll-free number will need to press star 9 on their phone to inform the meeting moderator that they would like to speak on the item. The moderator will notify the individual it is their turn to speak by calling their phone number and will allow them to unmute their telephone. At that time, the individual will be prompted to press star 6 and will be able to share their comments. Please note only a partial phone number will be displayed to the public when the individual provides public comment. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per speaker to speak on a particular agenda item. I ask that you keep your remarks brief and focused on the particular item you're speaking to. Please note this meeting is being recorded. After the meeting, the archived audio and video will be available via the Commission's website. Before we start with our agenda items, I'd like to congratulate Commissioner Litt on his reappointment to the Commission. Next, I'd also like to introduce Dr. Mandy Redfern, who is the new teacher representative on the Commission and no stranger to this table. Dr. Mandy Redfern is a veteran educator with more than 25 years of service in California's public schools. She has taught transitional kindergarten through 2nd grade in the La Cañada Unified School District, where she has demonstrated a sustained commitment to early childhood education and instructional excellence. Dr. Redfern has played an active role in supporting and developing new educators as a mentor in the California Induction Program and as a cooperating teacher for student teachers during their practicum experiences. She also served as an instructor for multiple subject credential candidates at the University of Laverne from 2006 to 2008. In recognition of her outstanding contributions to the profession, Dr. Redfern was named La Cañada Unified School District Teacher of the Year and Los Angeles County Teacher of the Year in 2018, and she was a finalist for California State Teacher of the Year the same year. Dr. Redford remains deeply committed to advancing the quality of teaching and learning throughout the state of California. She served on the Committee on Credentials for the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing from 2021 to 2022 and has contributed to multiple Commission work groups, including the SB 488 work group, the Child Development Permit work group, and is co-chair of the work group to review the design and implementation of the Teaching Performance Assessment. Please join me in welcoming Commissioner Redfern. Commissioner Redfern, would you like to say a few words?
I'm thrilled to be here and honored to be with all.
Great, welcome again. I'm sorry to announce that Dr. Christopher Davis's term with the Commission has ended. As a member of the Commission, he was instrumental in ensuring the integrity and high quality of California's public school educators. His dedication proved to be a valuable asset to the work of the Commission, and his contributions will be remembered. We will miss him, and I wish him the very best in his future endeavors. Finally, I'd like to announce the appointments for the 2026 Executive Committee. The committee includes Commissioner Danette Brown, who will chair the Educator Preparation Committee, Commissioner Michael De La Torre, the Professional Practices Committee, Commissioner Juan Cruz, the Fiscal Policy and Planning Committee, Commissioner Jose Cardenas, the Legislative Committee, Commissioner David Simmons, the Certification Committee, and Commissioner Ira Litt, the Appeals and Waivers Committee. Please join me in thanking all of them. Item 1A is the approval of December 2025 minutes. We will now open for public comment. Public comments are limited to 2 minutes per speaker. Recording secretary, are there any public comments? Thank you. The public comment period for this item is now closed. Commissioners, do I have a motion to approve the December 2025 Commission meeting minutes?
Moved by Simpson. Seconded by Mencius.
Thank you. Any discussion? Will the recording secretary please call for the vote? Each member please respond with aye, nay, or abstain.
Lynette Brown. Aye. Jose Cardenas.
Aye.
Juan Cruz. Juan Cruz. Michael De La Torre.
Aye.
Peter Grinnell Shire.
Aye.
Ira Le.
Aye.
Mencias.
Aye.
Andy Redford. David Simmons. Chris Simpson. Torres. Ang Yusof. Ang Cruz.
Commissioner Cruz, we need your vote
Aye.
on the minutes? Oh, aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is 1B, approval of the February 2026 agenda. We have an insert for agenda item 1C and a revised item 3A. Please note that we will complete all the general session items today, and Friday will be a closed session meeting only. Colleagues, I'd like to start the certification committee no later than 10:30, so please keep that in mind when sharing our reports. We will now open for public comment. Public comments are limited to 2 minutes per speaker. Recording secretary, are there any public comments?
There are no public comments.
Thank you. The public comment period for this item is now closed. Do I have a motion to approve the February 2026 Commission meeting agenda?
Moved by Mancias, seconded by Simpsons.
Thank you. Any discussion? Will the recording secretary please call for the vote? Please respond with aye, nay, or abstain.
Lynette Brown. Aye. Jose Cardenas.
Aye.
Juan Cruz.
Aye.
Michael De La Torre.
Aye.
Peter Grinnell Shire.
Aye.
Le.
Aye.
Carries.
Thank you. Agenda item 1C is approval of the February 2026 consent calendar. We will now open for public comment. Public comments are limited to 2 minutes per speaker. Recording secretary, are there any public comments?
There are no public comments.
Thank you. The public comment period for this item is now closed. Do commissioners have any questions about any of the policy items or other items they would like to consider in closed session?
Commissioner Cardenas,
I'd like to recuse myself on item number 17, Richard Blackstone. Item 95, Molly Elizabeth West.
Commissioner De La Torre,
I would like to recuse from item number 2, Irma Aguirre. Item number 4, Kelvin Alfaro. Item number 10, Ramon Banaga. Item number 12, Elliot Barrybolt. Item number 15, Mauro Bautista. Item number 22, Christopher Burgess. Item number 55, Amy Leserman. Item number 74, James Norris. Item number 75, Diana Ocampo. Item number 87, Yancy Romero. And item number 94, Elidia Vasquez. And I sent an email to, did you receive the email?
Yes.
Oh, great, thank you.
no other hands for any pulls from,
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve all remaining items on the consent calendar?
moved by Simpson, seconded by Redford.
Thank you. Will the recording secretary please call for the vote? Please respond with aye, nay, or abstain.
Lynette Brown. Aye. Jose Cardenas.
Aye.
Juan Cruz.
Aye.
Michael Delatorre,
Aye.
the Shire,
Aye.
Ira Lit,
Aye.
Ruben Mancias,
Aye.
Eddie Redfern,
Aye.
David Simmons,
Aye.
Richard Simpson,
Aye.
Press, Wang Yusoff, King carries.
Thank you. Good morning again, colleagues. Let me begin by expressing my gratitude to Jose Cardenas as he assumes the role of vice chair, and again, thanking all the chairs of the various committees. I appreciate your stepping up to serve in this new way. As you know, February 1 through March 1 is Black History Month, a tradition that began in the Jim Crow era and that was officially recognized in 1976 as part of our nation's bicentennial celebrations. The 2026 Black History Month theme is A Century of Black History Commemorations, which is designated by the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. This theme marks the 100th anniversary of the first celebration, focusing on a century of national efforts to honor, study, and promote the contributions of people of African descent. As I've done in previous years, I look to the National Museum of African American History and Culture for inspiration and resources. I was looking for a quote from Dr. Lonnie G. Bunch III, Secretary of the Smithsonian Institution, who was also the original director of the museum and a colleague of mine. But this year, Dr. Bunch and his team are focused on what one media source called balancing principle and pragmatism as they hand over precious museum documents in response to White House demands. So I will share what Dr. Bunch said last year for inspiration. Because it helps us to remember there is no more powerful force than a people steeped in their history, and there is no higher cause than honoring our struggle and ancestors by remembering. While we all know 2025 was unprecedented in so many ways, and we all thought and hoped 2026 would be better, so far under the current administration, 2026 is shaping up to be even more unbelievable and outrageous. But we also know that resistance and advocacy works, and we continue to fight for and through education. Momentum, optimism, and a desire for change are a powerful force. We begin our year together with some good news, however, with a summary of all that the Commission has accomplished last year. I hope you will have a chance over the next 2 days to review the annual report, and I'm going to go through a slide deck now. Next slide, please. So if you just look at what we've accomplished, and by we, I mean the staff and all of the commissioners sitting around this table and our colleagues sitting out in the audience as well. Nearly 400,000 applications, almost 17,500 preliminary teaching credentials is issued, 59 PK through 3 in 23-24, 5,625 misconduct cases open and 794 actions taken, 10 new institutions and 36 new prep programs approved, 61 new grantees awarded funding, oversight of nearly 700 active grantees, and over 4,000 inquiries answered by career counselors. Next slide, please. The Commission has engaged in organizational strengthening this past year by modernizing the structure to improve coherence, accountability, and responsiveness through the establishment of 3 branches: licensing, educator quality, and operations. DREA was conceived and created, the Division of Research, Evaluation, and Assessment. There has been improved cross-division coordination. The capacity to respond to workforce needs has been strengthened, which has positioned the agency for the major initiatives coming up in the next 3 years. Next slide, please. We all know the Commission has engaged in amazing literacy reform and performance assessment work. In response to Senate Bill 488, new literacy standards and TPE, new literacy standards were developed as well as TPE updates. 95 institutions, 229 programs, 520 pathways reviewed, 99% certified. 99% certified is aligned to update literacy standards. All active programs and pathways have been certified. The literacy performance assessment has been implemented, and all approved TPAs, including literacy components, beginning this year. Wow. Next slide, please. The RDI TPA workgroup completed the review and recommendation, and as you know, we, the Commission, adopted a 3-year implementation plan. The updates to Cal TPA and Cal APA materials were released, will be released this year. The release of the LPA and the MPA for PK3, so the learning performance assessment, the math performance assessment for PK3, multiple subject ed specialists, and 3 low incidence credential areas. We have eliminated technical condition codes, which has significantly reduced the resubmissions from our candidates. We've clarified expectations for candidates' support while completing TPAs, and there are multiple measures dashboards under development to allow C2C to monitor performance across programs and identify those programs needing technical assistance. Next slide, please. The Commission has engaged in amazing recruitment and grant investments, and we are especially grateful to our governor and to our legislator for their ongoing support to the Commission. Since 2015, over $1.3 billion in grant funding has been placed with CTC to support pathways and entry into the profession. $745 million to date for teacher and counselor residencies, plus $20 million for the statewide residency technical assistance center, $300 million for student teacher stipends, yay! $170 million for the classified school employee teacher credentials, $30 million for integrated undergraduate teacher preparation programs, $50 million for local solutions SPED grants, and $32 million for computer science, dyslexia, reading lit, and Delphi, which is the diversity educator leadership pipeline program. Next slide, please. And Commissioner Brown is especially excited about the early childhood and PK3 advancements. We've adopted revised child development permit matrix. We've adopted the 5-letter lattice aligned with national standards. Specialization recommendations are in development. 16 approved PK3 ECE specialist programs statewide, yay. 513 PK3 credentials issued as of January 2026, and alignment with universal transitional kindergarten expansion. Next slide, please. And near and dear to my heart, we've launched a new center to strengthen recruitment, preparation, and retention statewide. The Center for Educator Workforce Development is housed in the Division of Research, Evaluation, and Assessment, and will focus on data integration and cross-agency collaboration. We are reconvening the State Educator Workforce Collaborative, which was in existence for several years prior to this year. We are developing registered apprenticeship pathways, and the initial funding came from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and we are so grateful to our colleagues at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for their continued and sustained support for our efforts. Next slide, please. To support all of this work, Commission staff have modernized systems to improve transparency, efficiency, and data-informed decision-making, expanding paperless processing and CTC Online, developing new dashboards for TPA accreditation and assignment monitoring, integrating grant, assessment, and workforce data, automating high-volume licensing and enforcement processes, and strengthening customer service tools and reporting systems. Next slide, please. All of this work sets the foundation for 2026, 2028, which Executive Director Sandy will talk about in just a moment. So the reforms we are looking forward to in the next 3 years are 3-year performance assessment and accreditation improvement cycle, statewide examination refreshes and development, administrative services credential redesign according to Assembly Bill 1454, the development of general education, special education, dual credentialing pathways, care of Assembly Bill 1119, expansion of apprenticeship pathways, and continued modernization of licensure and data systems. Next slide, please, and I think I turn it over to our Executive Director, Sandy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Each year, as outlined in your policy manual, we present priority issues that are going to be coming before you in the calendar year. So that is what we have today. Next slide, please. The leadership team and I have identified 10 core priorities that will be coming forward. A lot of this driven by legislation that was enacted in the last year. They fall within 3 categories, broad categories of our work. First 3 have to do with quality and assessment. The next 3 have to do with credential structures and access to credentials. And the last area of 4 priorities addresses workforce investment. Next slide, please. So first priority we're listing here is in the quality and assessment space, and it has to do with next generation performance assessment development. This is work that was set up by Senate Bill 1263 that did very diligent work to bring us recommendations, and now we have a work plan for this, and it really sets the stage for what next generation performance assessment might look like in California. Key tasks that need to be undertaken to move this forward include an item that's on your agenda today, which is to update our performance assessment design standards. And following that, we have the opportunity to develop task, content, and platform specifications, to engage with a request for information process, to see what ideas are out there, and to get started on whatever next generation emerges as we move forward. That would be followed by a roadmap for development, piloting any new system that is put into play, field testing it, and having it ready for full operation in 8. This is an area of our work where we are sustaining work that some time. Next slide, please. Second key part of the work in quality and assessment has to do with the development of a low pass rate identification metric and continuous improvement process. This also was something set up in Senate Bill 1263 and will bring together the work of performance assessment and accreditation in some key system review and updating here. So we have an item on your agenda also today to look at that proposed framework and set the stage for moving forward in this area. Next slide, please. Our third priority in the area of quality and assessment has to do with our examinations, refresh and alignment. I've had a number of agenda items in the last year or two where we've considered whether we continue having our own shop of commission developed assessments or begin to look at off-the-shelf systems that meet our standards for efficiency purposes. And this particular priority will look at the examinations that inform who gets to come into teaching. So we have 5 different standardized tests that will be we are in the process now of examining what is available in the field that could serve our purposes, and this will be work we undertake this year and next year. The next slide, please, has to do with credential structures and opportunities to re-examine them and increase access to various types of preparation. So first in this set is a proposal here, a bill that came through, AB 1119, asking the Commission to examine how we can strengthen pathways and create and remove roadblocks to pathways that lead to dual credentialing in general education and special education. We have a number of programs in the state that have been innovating in this space, but the goal of the legislature, and I believe our chair, is to really make sure that every preparation program in the state has a pathway that leads to dual credentialing, which has great opportunity for kind of informing and infusing the system with the talent base that brings that whole and full skill set. So we have a number of tasks that we'll undertake this year, conducting research, engaging with the field, identifying what the core challenges are, identifying some efficiencies, and we expect to be back to you this year a number of times to update you on that work. The next slide, please. Another area in which we will be working on credential structures and increasing access has to do with the administrative services credential. We've had legislation in the last couple of years that have attempted to change the structure by adding various different types of credential holders who could earn this credential. In 2024, there was a bill that was vetoed, and we had a clear veto message from the governor about let's work on pathways for teachers and for non-teachers to serve in the administrative services space. Two other bills came along that have also kind of added to the work that we will undertake in looking at the base structure for the administrative services credential. How many different types should there be? How would that advantage the field and enable the full raft of administrative services to really be uplifting our students where they need to be uplifted? So we have a number of activities that we will undertake this year in that space. Next slide, please. Also having to do with credential structure and more to the point of access is to continue our work on refining and finalizing a refinement and revision to the subject matter requirements. Those requirements that drive the CSET exam have also driven for many years. What does it look like to offer a program that meets the same standards as the CSET? We had legislation in the last few years that have really opened this space up to allow for transcript review and certain kinds of academic majors. And what we need to bring up to date are the SMRs themselves, make sure that we really have clarity and structure that enables all the different ways in which candidates can meet the subject matter requirement and move into teacher preparation. So this is exciting work that we will be sustaining and moving forward this year. So next, priority number 7 has to do with the work of our new Center for Workforce Development. It falls under the category of workforce integrity and investment for us. So we expect that the Center for Workforce Development will be looking at how to strengthen the pipeline, looking at data and building on the data that we have and the incredible data team that we have in our DREA division to look at some analyses that help us understand better what's happening in preparation and the quality of preparation, equitable access to teachers and workforce planning. Secondly, looking at how we can align statewide efforts, coordinating our cross-agency work that has been successful in the last several years at shedding light and bringing the different state agencies and regional and system entities together to look what's happening with our workforce and how do we each contribute to that? How can we contribute to smoother future in this space? And we are also looking at how to pilot and expand innovative entry pathways, beginning with registered teacher apprenticeships, which is a very exciting development that we look forward to bringing you more information about this year. Number 8, also in the area of workforce integrity and investment, has to do with continuing our grant administration, which is such a significant amount of work in the last 10 years that has been undertaken here to build systems to bring the workforce forward and to provide strategic investments that enable people to overcome affordability issues and move into teaching. So that we have the opportunity to modernize a lot of that work that our staff has been doing with hand counting by having a new statewide system for grant management, and Kern County Office of Education is helping build that. Also, we had funding in the budget this year to launch a multimedia campaign, and we'll be looking at how to deploy a coordinated outreach effort to elevate the profession and expand awareness of preparation pathways, really expanding that knowledge to the field, I think can be enormously helpful in recruiting the teachers that we need for schools. And finally, looking at how we evaluate our impact, assessing implementation and workforce outcomes to guide continuous improvement and future investment. So moving on to the next slide, please. Also under workforce integrity and investment, we had a state audit of a local charter school that led to directives to the commission to implement misassignment sanctions. We brought you an item last December, or was it October? Last fall, we brought you an agenda. Oh, it's December. There we go. With a proposal about how to approach sanctions. If you recall, the commission was interested in how do we provide better training and awareness of how to avoid misassignments based on all of the different things you can do to make sure that that knowledge base is really strong in the field as one part of that effort. We expect to bring back so draft regs for you to look at as possibly as early as June of this year and see if we can get that system up and moving as well. Finally, under the area of workforce integrity and investment, there was a bill this year, Senate Bill 848, which called for the commission to, contingent upon an appropriation, develop a statewide data system that includes all of the following information for individuals serving in a non-certified position for a local educational agency or in any position for a private school employer. I haven't listed here on the slide for you what those different pieces of information will be, but essentially this will move classified staff into a database managed and monitored by the commission that is intended to provide additional information to the field regarding the readiness of the people who serve to continue serving without harm to children. So this is an expansion of our work in this area, and it's not insignificant. So we are working right now on what that's going to take to get lifted up. So these are the 10 priority areas that you're going to see a great deal of this year in your commission agenda. And this sits on top of the slide that Chair Greenough-Shire started, which was the highlight of, over 300,000 credentials issued. All of the work that is our fundamental day-to-day work continues. And we expect us to hit, and I hope exceed, numbers of credentials that we're issuing because we have removed barriers. We are continuing to move funding strategically out to the field to support movement into the profession. And our workforce focused areas are going to be looking at what is enabling and constraining the recruitment, the retention, and the stabilization of our teaching credentialed workforce for the field. So to get all of this done, we have a budget item coming up this morning that sets forth the governor's proposed budget for this year and recognizes the amount of work the legislature has directed our way. And I'm not going to read the punchline on that. I save that for Commissioner Lidd, who will chair that committee, for Commissioner Cruz today. But there are resources available. And 3 resources are new staff members that I'd like to introduce to you today as I close my report. First, I'd like to introduce Dr. Patricia Lane. Will you just stand for a moment so everyone can see you? Hello, welcome, Dr. Lane. Patricia Lane is a consultant in our performance assessment team in the Division of Research, Evaluation, and Assessment. She brings over 20 years of experience across K-16 education, including roles in educational leadership and educator preparation. Patricia began her career as a junior high school teacher and has also served as a support staff member and a K-12 school administrator. Patricia holds a bachelor's degree in English from Howard University, a master's degree in education from the University of Pennsylvania, a K-12 administrative credential, and a doctorate in educational leadership from California State University, Bakersfield. Prior to joining the commission, Patricia served as an assistant professor and integrated teacher education program coordinator at CSU Fresno. Patricia's research focus has focused on advancing equitable educator preparation with particular attention to culturally sustaining pedagogy and educator success. Welcome, Dr. Lane. I would also like to introduce Michelle Fennell, please stand. Michelle, hello and welcome. She is joining the they're not the professional services division, the division of standards accreditation and workforce investment in our educator quality branch. So Michelle began her career in Elk Grove Unified School District, where she spent 23 years as an elementary teacher, multilingual instructional coach, and site administrator. In addition to her site work, Michelle provided induction support to new teachers, coached interns, and taught English language development courses for credential candidates at Sacramento State and the Sacramento County Office of Education. After her time at Elk Grove Unified, Ms. Fennell spent 3 wonderful years as a consultant in the Curriculum Frameworks and Instructional Resources Division at the California Department of Education. Her passion for teacher education and development has led her to the commission, and she looks forward to doing her part to ensure California students have well-prepared and passionate teachers in our classrooms. Outside of work, Ms. Fennell enjoys spending time with her family, especially her little boy, Ian, who is set to start his education journey in transitional kindergarten in the fall. And Mom begins her new education journey as a parent. It's an adventure. Finally, I'd like to introduce Dr. Susan Olson, who is also joining the Division of Standards Assessment and Workforce Investment, DASAWI. She brings 26 years of experience in California education across K-12, higher education, and statewide policy roles. Most recently, Dr. Olson served as the Teacher and Leader Policy Office with the California Department of Education, where she was the lead consultant for California's National Board Certification Incentive Program, overseeing legislative implementation, funding, and coordination in partnership with the Commission, the National Board, CTA, and local education agencies. Her professional background includes service as a high school English and reading teacher, an elementary school principal, director of program development for a district-based teacher intern school of education, adjunct faculty in the single subject credential program at California State University, Sacramento. Dr. Olson holds a doctorate in education and public policy and brings deep expertise in educator preparation, workforce policy, grant management, and cross-agency collaboration. Welcome, Dr. Olson. Gary, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Executive Director Sandy. I think I can safely say I speak on behalf of all of my colleagues in saying that we look forward to continuing our work with you and your leadership team in accomplishing all of these priorities over the next several years. Do any commissioners have items to report?
Okay, 8. Commissioner Brown, and I'm going to keep your hand up and I'm going to write the list down. So please, Commissioner Brown, you may begin.
Well, I'll try to keep it short in respect to Chair Bruno Shire. And at the same time, lots is going on with the community colleges that connect with education. So I'll try to be brief. But before I get started, I wanted to from a distance, thank Dr. Davis for his service and welcome Dr. Redfern. Glad to have another early childhood educator on board. That is fabulous. I regularly consult with the Dean of Workforce Development at the Chancellor's Office, Cherie Fortain, and Dr. Amy Smith, who's executive for strategic initiatives, because lots is going on at California community colleges. So here's 4 things. I'll try to be brief. We've been, the Chancellor's Office has partnered with CSU. Hi, Cherie. Great. Around a toolkit called Pathways for Advancing Visionary Educators. The toolkit has now been built and a community of practice is being developed to apply this toolkit towards expanding the community colleges to CSU pathways in early childhood education. So it's still in design and it's on its way. I think it's going to be good. In addition, the community colleges bachelor degree program are expanding affordable baccalaureate degree programs aligned with local workforce needs. So that has some overlap with teacher prep, but not about teacher prep in specifically. and already has scaled about 55 to 57 approved programs, which is mostly in CTE and STEM and the arts. But I wanted you to know how that's working, because as we know, to get teachers prepared, also you need access and affordability, which the community colleges offer. The third thing is that the ed sector apprentices. To date, 63 California apprenticeship initiatives, CAI grant applications have been funded to directly support apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship pathways in the education and social services sector. So this is really great. The college that I work for is one of them, and it's just been great to see these apprentices be able to get a 20-hour-a-week job in early childhood education while they're taking their course. That connects the coursework with the practical application from the beginning. And one of our first has already transferred to San Francisco State to get his 3 credentials. So we're really excited about that building. And then the fourth one is that ECE and EDU have been doing a demonstration project since April of 24, and our districts, specifically 2 of our colleges, Skyline and Kenyatta colleges, have been working with the San Francisco Bay Area region in partnership with the leadership of Kathleen White, who is fabulous, to put together a way in which everyone in the San Francisco Bay Area can get connected. There's been a 70% increase in the apprenticeship pathway since we started this, and we put together a Teach project that's reached 1,200 professionals. And a lot of our colleges and the students in them actually help put on that Teach for the Bay virtual conference. So it's been really great for me to be able to help some of my students actually be presenters with me. It's just been great. So the phase 1 of that project is now closing, and they're starting phase 2. Finally, 2 short ones. Welcome and thank you to everyone in the staff here who has put together the ECE community circles. We want to celebrate their 3rd year. Yes, they're starting their 3rd year, and it's just been remarkable how many early childhood professionals in all the different kinds of programs have gotten involved in this monthly community circle. And it really identifies how the community builds good things when the community can be involved. Finally, and I don't have my t-shirt on, but I should. I just last week was up here for the California Early Childhood Mentor Program, Director Mentor Institute, and the Mentor Teacher Institute. Was just fabulous in the same hotels that we're all in. But one of the things that they did was that we got someone who helped us talk through how do you have difficult conversations and why are they difficult? And then how do you take feedback? And what does that tell you about other ways that people take feedback? Really engaging. And I'm really glad that the California Early Childhood Mentor Program is still connected to us as well, in terms of how the mentor teachers there really supervise early childhood student teachers in an excellent way. Okay, did I stay on task? Shire. That's it for the community colleges for this time.
The other hands that I saw were Commissioner Francois, Commissioner Torres, Commissioner Simpson, did I see your hand? Okay, and Commissioner Erickson. Did I miss anyone? Commissioner Pavry? All right, so Commissioner.
Good morning, fellow commissioners and the rest of the community in the room. It's always so great to be here. I feel energized. And so I want to first start with a gratitude to Chair Grinnell Shire and Executive Director Sandy for your reports this morning. I always find it so encouraging to look back at what we've accomplished so far, and I'm including me in the we, by the way. And looking forward to all the good things to come. This is hard work, but we keep pushing forward. And I don't know about y'all, but I felt good after that. So thank you very much. I also, before giving my liaison report, I want to acknowledge Dr. Imelda Nava, who is joining us in the gallery today. Dr. Nava is a STEM and computer science teacher educator at UCLA. Dr. Nava was a pioneer in establishing our teacher residency program that we launched in 2009 or something like that. That's still going strong today. And I would say single-handedly, but she would scold me if I said that out loud. But she was a driving force in all of the innovations in teacher preparation that have happened at UCLA over the last 25 years. And that should be recognized, not just for UCLA, but for the state of California. So thank you, Dr. Nava, for not only serving UCLA, but serving the state so well. Thank you. Having said that, and because it is Black History Month, I am waiving my UC report. My UC colleagues would not mind to offer a few brief remarks in recognition of Black History Month. Black History Month invites us to not only celebrate extraordinary individuals, but to reflect on the enduring role of Black educators in shaping public education in California and across the nation. From classrooms in Los Angeles, Oakland, and the Central Valley to leadership in higher education, Black teachers, scholars, and community leaders have long advanced educational opportunity, even in the face of structural barriers specifically not designed to exclude. It is my hope that their legacy today challenges us. I hope it challenges us to remember that public education has always been both a site of struggle and a site of possibility. I hope it challenges us to examine who is prepared, supported, and retained in our educator workforce. And I hope it challenges us to ensure that our credentialing systems expand pathways into the profession for all. In California, where our K-12 students are among the most racially and linguistically diverse in the country, the underrepresentation of Black educators remains a pressing concern. Research consistently shows that students benefit academically, socially, and emotionally from having teachers who reflect and affirm their identities. It's not just about representation, it's about establishing a sense of belonging, expectations, and long-term life outcomes. So, fellow commissioners, as we commemorate Black History Month, let us recommit ourselves to strengthening teacher preparation pathways that remove financial and structural barriers, that support residency and apprenticeship models that grow educators from the communities that they serve. Ensuring culturally responsive preparation is not just an elective for some, but foundational for all. And most importantly, well, no, not most importantly, and holding ourselves accountable for retention, not just recruitment into the educator workforce. I want us all to remember that Black history is central to the story of public education. Fight for literacy, for equitable school funding, for desegregation, and for community voice has been led and sustained by Black educators and their families. And so, as always, my hope is that Black History Month moves us all from representation, recognition, to strengthening our resolve to make public schools a better place for all children, and this month focusing on Black children and the Black teacher educators that serve them.
Thank you, Commissioner Francois. Commissioner Torres.
Hello, commissioners. Good morning, and Executive Director Mary Sandy. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I have a few updates for you from the Department of Education. I'm happy to report about the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards Certification Program. The subsidy of $2,500 application period did end last month, and when all was said and done, we received about 1,430 applications. They're currently all under review, and the funding is set to go out through February 13th. The incentive program that's part of that provides incentive grants up to $25,000 to teachers who have obtained that national board certification. And as of just last week, we've already received 2,887 applications, and that application period ends February 17th. Another great program to talk about is the Educator Effectiveness Funds Block Grant. Each year, this block grant has a revision period, and we're currently under that revision period for year 2 reporting. Year 3 revision period is scheduled to take place between March 9th and March 30th of this year. And so far, school districts have spent 1 million over. Sorry, that's not a million. That's a lot more than that. That's $1,067 million of the $1.5 billion that's allocated to professional learning. So that's more than the report that I provided in this first. Also, the 21st Century California School Leadership Academy grant. It's in its 3rd year of cohort number 2, and that's serving over 8,000 leaders since 2023. And lastly, the superintendent and the State Board of Education are doubling down on our efforts for literacy. Our co-directors of literacy at the Department of Ed have scheduled a series of webinars for 2026 to provide the field with comprehensive information on California's approach to literacy and biliteracy, as well as the California Literacy Roadmap. For example, on March 17th, we'll have a webinar on highlighting strategies for supporting equitable practices in literacy, California's commitment to Black student success. The webinar scheduled for May will focus on the California Literacy Roadmap, and anyone here listening online and in the public can join in these webinars by registering on our website. And lastly, within my own division for curriculum and instruction, we're making great progress in planning for our English language arts, English language development, follow-up adoption, which has language and priorities centered around a lot of the work of the commission. And just yesterday, we closed our intent to submit period for publishers to participate in that follow-up adoption. Hot off the press, I don't think anyone's publicly heard this yet, but we have 53 full programs being submitted for review or intended to be submitted for review across the 6 different program types for English language arts, English language development. This is the first time that we've actually created a system to review partial programs. And so we have 23 partial programs on our list. So exciting times for literacy.
Mr. Erickson.
Good morning. I represent AICCU and private agencies and institutions. They're 48% of the educators in California. And with that, from the field comes an acknowledgement and thanks to the commission and staff for all of the work that you have done and all of the work you're going to do, and the clarity with which that has been given to the public, the amount of time allowed for feedback from the institutions, and how that has impacted our work. The members of AICCU, as well as the CSUs and UCs, will be meeting back up in Sacramento the 3rd week in March for our Political Action Network. And we will be working with legislatures to advocate for the continuance of the Golden State Teachers Grant, which has been very important to all of us in supporting educators in their preparation. Also of concern is the Grad Plus loans, which are going away, and have non-professionalized teachers and nurses, taking them out of that category. I will be attending AACTE next week, and hopefully we'll find out more about, I don't know if I can even say where we are with that, but maybe if there is any possibility, because that is a huge loss to our state in the preparation of educators. In my job, I often have to be apolitical, but the time to come, I feel like this is no longer a political issue, but a moral issue. I have friends across Minnesota, and while we're not hearing as much, the issue is real and it's still there. Media has gone on to other things, and it's as bad as it was. We see ICE agents patrolling schools, hospitals, churches, and communities in Chula Vista, National City, San Ysidro, Lemon Grove, El Cajon, Bakersfield, and across the state. And it hit me when we were saying the Pledge and Allegiance, Liberty and Justice for All, and where we are with our Second Amendment and due process. And just wanted to note that today, that it's of terrible concern. Our children will now have generations of trauma because of what is happening across the United States.
Thank you. Commissioner Clavering.
I'll be brief. I just wanted to firstly commend the commission. That report was significant and really helped encapsulate all that we have accomplished and the long road ahead. Absolutely. So we have work to do, and I think we've got a great team. Welcome to the new members as well. And I also want to acknowledge the comments of so many of our commissioners to highlight the time and space that we're in today, reflect on the gravity of the movement and how we support all of our young people in the schools and our educators who are doing the hard work, really caring well beyond their academics, but for their holistic. Commissioner Brown spoke to the PAVE toolkit, so I wanted to just really quickly a little bit more information about that. I have sent Haiju a link to the toolkit. So the toolkit is one of our ways in which the CSU and the community college have continued to grow partnerships and collaboration. This is it's basically includes best practices, includes exemplary partnership models, includes case studies, stories from exemplary residency programs and other programs that highlight our partnerships between CSU and CCC into teacher preparation. So the toolkit is available on the website. We have a little podcast that talks more about the toolkit, so it will be in the minutes. Our next phase is now to proof test how we have been thinking and conceptualizing about these partnerships. We have some exemplary models across the state, these partnerships statewide. And so we're developing a competitive practice that will comprise of both community college and Cal State faculty who will model and put into practice these best practices that have been identified. So looking forward to that one, that partnership, and to the new teachers that we will. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I see no other, oh wait, Commissioner Cardenas.
I just wanted to just want to say welcome to everybody that's here in the audience, in person, online, to our commission staff that just does a phenomenal job. I think every time I come in, I talk about the commission, everybody thinks just about credentialing, but doesn't realize everything else that happens here. I mean, to my fellow commissioners, thank you for coming back to the table and having a full table. But I will say that I do miss the presence of Commissioner Davis. I'm going to say that in his voice. But that will not be lost, right? This will definitely continue, and I know he'll continue to do great work. So I just wanted to acknowledge that as well. And also welcome Commissioner Redford. I think it's been great to have you at the table. I know we've seen you before, but it's just really exciting. I have a lot to say, and I'm going to try to keep it brief because I know I have a time limit. But I'm going to start off with why I love being a school counselor. It's never boring. It's never boring, and I never thought I'd be a school counselor. I didn't love education. Education was a very negative experience for me. But because of education, I sit at this table because I got a lot of opportunities, because of a lot of amazing, loving, giving people. And so I say that to you because last week was National School Counseling Week. And one of our school counselors said he loves Mondays. And I just most people, Monday, oh no, it's here. And he talked about how he doesn't care what day of the week it is. He loves coming to work. He's an elementary school counselor. And the way he just engages with students, with families, absolutely phenomenal. I wish all of you could see his work and you would be greatly impressed because he's like 6'5" and he works with all the little kinders, and so you can imagine that. But with last year being National School Counseling Week, it wasn't an appreciation week. It really is a week of advocacy and to amplify the work that's being done. And I will tell you that from elementary to middle school to high school, their job is never boring. I know you may think of a school counselor. I know I have an image of one too, and it wasn't probably the greatest image. Or you think of what the person that changed your schedule. But what a lot of students, what a lot of school counselors are doing now is different type of work, whether in classrooms or teaching lessons or teaching workability skills. They're really trying to help foster and also engage students who may not feel connected to campus. And so last week being a week, they will continue to do this work. I was also very blessed last week to be part of an HBCU event held at one of our schools. There's plenty of HBCU events that are going across California. There's a caravan. I know they were in Oakland, they're Los Angeles. It was really exciting to see our students being accepted, HBCUs on the spot admission, getting full ride scholarships, and also partial scholarships, but just the level of excitement from our students. I had some donors that were there and from the community, and they said, I wish I would have had this when I was younger. I probably would have gone to an HBCU if I would have had that opportunity. And so just to see our students glow and excited and their families engage just shows that we need more and more of these events throughout the state of California. And I know there's a great partnership with the community college system and also HBCUs. I was also able to attend, and I'm going to tell you all this is within the last few weeks. Okay, so this is really quick. A We Will Education Workforce Conference. In that workforce conference, there were students that talked about their apprenticeship experiences. And I know that's been the theme about apprenticeships, but a lot of the apprenticeships are in our school districts, right, where our students get the opportunity to engage with our IT department or paraprofessionals, or just to really get that experience of, do I want to continue to engage in this type of work for my future? And so we're able to hear from students and elevate their voices of how important it is for them to have these experiences at a very young age, starting in 9th grade and moving on. I know we usually look at apprenticeships once they've graduated, once they're in college, but we really need to look at it from an early age. I am going to elevate one of our fellow commissioners, Dr. Yusof. I was able to attend an AI symposium. And if you ever get a chance to talk to her about AI, the reason I bring it up, I have all this stuff on AI prompting, AI roadmap for teachers. I think the best part about it is, I know there's this fear about AI and how students may use it to cheat or use it to not in a good way. But what she has done over in her district is masterful, and the connections that she has built from her students. There was a 7th grade student there that presented on AI and comedy, and it was phenomenal, right? It was just an amazing event as students talked about how they use it, how they engage with it, and how they're looking to solve real world problems. And I'll just leave it to Dr. Yusof to share more, but the work that she is doing with students is something that everybody needs to really pay attention to, because it's elevating student voice. Also, would like to point out that right now it's also financial aid season. A lot of students are afraid to apply because of what's currently happening in the climate. And so one of the biggest barriers, as we know, is finances. And so students across the state, I've noticed that are not applying as much, but there are programs out there for kids besides financial aid. This state really has invested $2 billion in Cal Kids, which our students could tap into. Automatically $500 all the way up to $1,500 that can pay for a deposit or pay for a fee. So a lot of our students are doing that. Riverside County Office of Ed, shout out to them, are doing a phenomenal job doing Cal Kids. I believe they're #1 in the state. So I'm trying to catch up to all of you in our county, but they're doing a great job leading the way. And also RAC, which is a Regional Admissions Counselors of California, just held a conference here in Elk Grove to talk about all the different schools and colleges that exist that maybe our students wouldn't really tap into. We know about UCLA, of course, right? They're national champions. We know about the big schools. There's a lot of small schools that a lot of our students don't tap into and that have great resources. And that's one of the things that RAC does. WACAC, also the Western Association for College Admissions Counseling. Then we'll also be hosting several events across the state for our students. If you've never attended one, I would suggest just go to one, see how students are engaging, but also for you to engage with those representatives and engage with those folks, because they're really trying to have our students come in and get the best possible experience. And this leads to our education pathway here, right? I just want to go back to the chair's report as Executive Sandy's report as well. All those numbers, fantastic. I mean, we're so proud that represents people. Real human beings who on a daily need support, are trying to figure things out and need assistance. And we know that going into education could be pretty convoluted. Everybody has gone a different way, their own trajectory. But that represents real people. So that's one of the things when we look at numbers, we have to remember we're impacting people, adults, but also our children in the state of California. I remain inspired. I want to continue to stay connected. I think we need to continue the relationships. That's how we're really going to build a pipeline. If our kids love school at some point in time, whether it be in TK all the way through or in college, I know for myself, it wasn't until I had a professor, Dr. Livingston, in Africana Studies at SDSU, and also Trish Weir, who was my EOPS counselor, who said, maybe you should go into education. Me? I don't even like school. And said, you do very well with students, with kids. You like to coach, you love sports. And so it takes a person at some point in someone's trajectory to intervene. I think everyone here, not just at the table, but either online or here in person or out at all of our schools, it takes that real human connection. So don't step away from that, regardless of everything that's happening right now in the world. So I just want to say that as we continue to amplify our students' voices, continue to remember the families, the communities that we serve, but also we have to continue just to lead with our hearts. We will bring peace and calm to a lot of chaos that's happening across our nation. So we have to continue to do that for our students. I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for the word. Thank you for engaging with the word. I'm excited. I'm super motivated. We really need to focus on systemic change.
Any other commissioners? Chair, I see no other hands for commissioner report.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your inspiring words. Do any liaisons have items to report?
Aide Rodriguez.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Great to hear all of your comments this morning, and as we celebrate Black History Month, and with all the contributions that we're making to improve education in California and hopefully model for the rest of the country. So my liaison report is at the January 14th, 2026 State Board of Education meeting. We reelected Linda Darling Hammond as president and Cynthia Glover Woods as vice president for 2026. The board received an update on the college and career indicator within California's accountability system and approved the 2026 accountability work plan. Planned refinements for the California School Dashboard include intra-district comparisons for teacher data on the dashboard, clear reporting of performance trends across all 4 levels, and exploration of a more transparent metric, distance from proficiency standard, by 2027. The board also discussed potential updates to the California's S-Estate plan, an important consideration for preparation programs aligning coursework and clinical practice with evolving state accountability expectations. And Commissioner Torres mentioned a little bit about this. We also approved reviewers and facilitators for the 2026 ELA-ELD instructional materials follow-up adoption, reinforcing California's continued focus on strong literacy implementation. We also received updates that may influence future preparation work, including adjustments to the personal finance curriculum guide timeline. In assessment and special education, the board reviewed progress on curriculum embedded science performance tasks, approved the IDEA Part B annual performance report, and advanced regulatory amendments for the Supporting Priority School Districts program. Together, these actions reflect California's ongoing emphasis on literacy, assessment coherence, special education compliance, and accountability alignment, key areas for institutions preparing the state's future educators. Thank you so much. That concludes my liaison report.
Student Liaison Morrison.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me here again. The underlying theme of this meeting this morning definitely with political that's been going on. It has been affecting students and credential candidates. As many of us know, there's about 500,000 students in California that have at least one immigrant parent, and around 133,000 students are undocumented. These students are in our classrooms, and us as student teachers or as counselors that are getting their PPS credentials, we deal with these students on a regular basis. So what is going on in our climate right now is not only affecting these students, but with a mindset of student teachers and candidates, it's affecting us as well. Even in early 2026, students and credential candidates are navigating a rapidly shifting climate tied to immigration enforcement and activity, and the policy is uncertain. We have seen increased anxiety conditions directly impacting candidates and their ability to build routines, classroom routines, and also complete assessments because of lack of students coming to class because they are scared. And honestly, just staying well to student candidates and credential candidates, we have a lot on our plates. And so staying well and taking care of ourselves, but also wanting to take care of our students. And so balancing that, that fine line, definitely. So I just would like the commission to know that our student teachers and our credential candidates are trying their best right now to support not only ourselves, but our students that are going through these turbulent times. So thank you for having me here to be able to represent all of us. But then also thank you for the work that everyone here does just for us as well as our students. So thank you.
Madam Chair, I see no other liaison reports.
Thank you. Student Liaison Morrison, thank you for your comments, and know that all of us around this table and in this community are here to support you and your colleagues. I now recess the general session and move to the certification committee. Commissioner Simmons, will you please convene the committee?
I now convene the certification committee. The committee has two items before it today. Our first item is item 2A, proposed regulatory amendments pertaining to adding supplementary and subject matter authorizations to general education teaching credentials. This is an action item that presents proposed amendments to Title V of the California Code of Regulations related to supplementary and subject matter authorizations to clarify statutory changes and align coursework requirements to curriculum frameworks. This item will be presented by Ann Harris and representatives from two educational partner groups. The California Art Education Association is represented by Alicia Murnick, and the California Dance Association Dance Education Association is represented by Lindsay Lindberg and Cherie Hill, co-president, and Jesse Cronenberg, past president. Ms. Harris, please begin.
Yes. Morning, commissioners. I am Ann Harris, Senior Licensing Manager of the Assignment Monitoring and Regulations Program, and I'm here to introduce item 2A to the proposed amendments to the Title V regulations as they relate to subject matter authorizations and
people say, like, at least on social media and in our news, you know,
First, I'd like to introduce the purpose of the supplementary and subject matter authorizations, which this item pertains to. The Commission currently issues limited authorizations that can be added to a general education teaching credential, including a single subject or multiple subject teaching credential. And they are intended for educators who are already in a subject, have academic knowledge in other subjects. If they meet the subject matter competency for that subject, they can be issued a limited authorization. Supplementary and subject matter authorizations allow holders to teach the content area within a limited scope. So for example, an educator who holds a multiple subject teaching credential but wants to teach, for example, departmentalized agriculture, they can teach that with a supplementary authorization in agriculture. It's limited in that the authorizations are either limited by the curriculum level or the grade level of the students based on a specific authorization. Satisfying academic requirements to earn supplementary and subject matter authorizations has historically been limited to either holding a degree that aligns with the content area or meeting a coursework requirement. 20 semester units are required for a supplementary authorization and 32 semester units are required for a subject matter authorization. However, within that unit requirement, specific content areas are required to be met to ensure that the educator is adequately prepared to teach that content area. So for example, an educator applying to add a supplementary authorization in agriculture to the multiple subject teaching credential using the coursework requirement, they need to have the 20 semester units in agriculture, but it needs to include at least one course in animal science, one course in plant science, and one course in agricultural mechanics. Subject matter competence required to earn full single subject or multiple subject teaching credentials can be accomplished via many avenues, including a degree major, coursework, passage of the California subject examinations for teachers, CSET exams, combination of coursework review and CSET exams, completion of a subject matter program, or a comparable out-of-state license. However, in an effort to differentiate the two pathways, I will say here that in order to earn the full authorization instead of the supplementary or subject matter authorization, they would need to complete a course in pedagogy specifically for that subject. So this full list of options for satisfying academic requirements was not previously available to individuals applying for supplementary or subject matter authorizations. However, Assembly Bill 2473, which was effective September 28th of 2024, expanded options for educators to satisfy the academic requirements to more closely align with the array of options that were available for educators earning a full credential. So this included adding the CSET exams of the subject, combination of CSET exams and coursework in the subject if it's reviewed by an approved preparation program, and a comparable out-of-state professional level license with an authorization that aligns with the subject area. The proposed regulatory amendments in this item updates 6 sections of regulations to add these additional options to satisfy subject matter requirements as outlined in statute, in addition to some changes to align terminology and modernize requirements. For background on this modernization, in 2022, Prop 28 was passed, providing funding to supplement arts education programs, leading to a statewide focus on recruiting and filling arts-related positions. And in the following years, the credential authorizations necessary in arts positions and to earn such authorizations became a focus for various stakeholder groups, educators, credential analysts, and administrators statewide. While the impetus to amend these particular sections of regulations arose from the statutory changes related to the academic requirements that resulted from Assembly Bill 2473, it was an opportune time to reach out to arts-related stakeholders who had previously contacted the Commission with concerns regarding the relevancy of coursework requirements. Nearly a year ago, Commission staff began collaboration with representatives from both the California Art Education Association and the California Dance Education Association to review current coursework requirements for supplementary and subject matter authorizations in art and dance. Similarly, a decade ago, commission staff engaged with stakeholder groups during the establishment of the new computer science authorizations to ensure preparation was relevant and appropriate. This prior collaboration set a precedent for similar engagement, which has culminated in the proposed amendments related to the content areas required when using coursework to satisfy the academic requirements for the supplementary and subject matter authorizations in both art and dance. Today, we have representatives from both the California Art Education Association and the California Dance Education Association here to present virtually an overview and justification for the changes to the coursework requirements. So at this time, Alicia Mernick will present on behalf of the California Art Education Association.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. I want to start by just expressing gratitude for being invited into this space and being able to collaborate on these recommendations. I am here representing the California Art Education Association in support of proposed amendments to the visual arts supplementary and subject matter authorizations. I will focus specifically on the coursework revisions, as this is where we were really invited to contribute as content experts in visual arts education and best practices today. So with the implementation of Prop 28, districts are expanding arts programs and facing a shortage of fully credentialed art teachers. CAEA, California Art Association, strongly advocates for fully credentialed arts teachers in every school. As the field grows, it's essential that authorization requirements remain rigorous, relevant, and aligned with current standards and best practice, but still accessible. The most important improvement in these amendments is the modernization of coursework structure. The previous language emphasized drawing and painting, art history or appreciation, and craft. While those areas remain foundational, the structure does not fully reflect the breadth of contemporary visual arts practices or visual arts education in California schools. The proposed domains, studio practice, visual culture and art history, artistic processes, inquiry and critique, better align with the California art standards and the National Core Art Standards, which are organized around the 4 artistic processes: creating, responding, presenting, and connecting. This revision opens the door for preparation across multiple media, including digital arts, photography, graphic design, printmaking, 3-dimensional design, and emerging medias, alongside more traditional studio forms. It reflects what is actually being taught in university programs and K-12 classrooms today. Equally important, by focusing on artistic processes instead of prescribing specific materials, techniques, or movements, the language in this amendment supports culturally responsive and culturally sustaining approaches to art education. It allows preparation programs and candidates to engage with diverse artistic traditions and contemporary practices while still maintaining clear expectations for rigor and depth of study. In visual art, the act of creating and the act of reflecting on creative work are inseparable. Artistic inquiry, iteration, critique, and refinement are not optional teaching strategies. These are core subject matter knowledge in the discipline. The revised domains recognize that preparing to teach visual art requires engagement with these processes, not simply exposure to specific materials. Importantly, these revisions do not increase unit requirements or create additional barriers. They modernize the structure while maintaining the original scope and rigor of the authorization. In short, these amendments strengthen alignment with current standards, reflect contemporary practice, and ensure that candidates demonstrate substantive engagement with studio work, contextual understanding of art across cultures and histories, and the critical and reflective processes necessary to teach visual arts effectively. So on behalf of the California Art Education Association, I respectfully urge the Commission to approve these revisions. Thank you for your time.
And now representatives from the California Dance Education Association will present.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Lindsay Lindberg, and these slides will review the proposed modifications for the supplemental dance coursework we're suggesting. Again, my name is Lindsay Lindberg. I'm currently co-president of CDEA. I work as an arts education researcher at UCLA, and I teach the dance methods course for single subject credential candidates at Cal State Northridge. And I'm here with my colleague, who you'll hear from shortly, Cherie Hill. She's an assistant professor of dance at Cal State San Marcos, a former co-president of CDEA, a dance education fellow on the Center Artist Credential Pathway Program, and a dance credential field supervisor for Cal State East Bay, with over 10 years of experience in K-12 dance classrooms. So the required coursework to earn a specific content area of study in dance has not been updated since the reinstatement of the dance credential or the revisions to the California Arts Education Frameworks and Standards in Dance in 2021. And the coursework offered in dance education in public schools in California has evolved rapidly since the required content areas of study were developed and updated, which brings us to the pressing need to update them today. Currently, to earn a supplementary authorization in dance, at least one course in jazz dance, contemporary dance, and dance theory is required. However, given the arts education framework's focus on diversity and cultural relevance, it is essential that we revise the current dance technique requirements to align with the California Arts Education Framework and Standards in Dance to more accurately reflect the framework and support their learners and teachers in California. The California Arts Education Framework and Standards in Dance that was adopted in 2021 emphasized dance as communication, creative personal realization, culture, history, and connection, a means to well-being, community engagement, and as a profession, but nowhere are there specific technique requirements. So this would be a big alignment shift for our field. And I'll pass it over to Cherie.
Thank you, Lindsay, and good morning, everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit about the justification and our proposed modifications to the supplementary authorizations in dance. So one justification is wanting to align more with our other arts disciplines, so theater, music, and now visual art. And we share also some of the same justifications that Alicia presented as far as visual arts have to go, but right now, for dance, the coursework that is supposed to be completed is in jazz dance, contemporary dance, and dance theory. And we're looking to change those to be more closely aligned with our counterparts. Next slide, please. So we would like to propose that the requirements of jazz and contemporary dance for dance technique, that those requirements are limited, and they name specific dance styles that does not reflect the diversity of dance and the diversity of dance in California. And so we would like to have a broader requirement as far as technique classes go. And so we're proposing to change jazz and contemporary dance technique requirements to just dance technique requirements, which is inclusive of various dance technique and not just focused on two different styles. And in addition, we're proposing that coursework in dance history be added as well to dance theory for preparation to understand and teach dance. And you can go to the next slide. Thank you. So dance technique, the broad category of dance technique without focusing on any genres, which is not present in the other arts forms, aligns with California art standards that were revised. And in those standards, as well as the National Core Art Standards, there are not specific dance styles named, such as jazz and contemporary dance, so we do not see a reason to name those in these authorizations. It also limits what technical dance courses that students can take and credential candidates can take. And also, we've seen that many of our higher education institutions and our dance teachers and credentialed dance teachers have focuses in other dance forms, such as Mexican folklorico, Indian classical dance, hip hop, West African dance, ballet, other fields of dance and other styles. And we see this as being very central to dance education programs and also California's creative economy to broaden what credential candidates can take. This slide shows what is required now as far as the current supplementary authorization in dance content areas of study. Again, currently jazz dance, contemporary dance, and dance theory are required for the supplementary authorization, and also supplementary authorizations for multiple subject and standard elementary teaching credentials. An example from music right now, what is required is vocal music, instrumental music, music history or appreciation, and music theory. Again, not naming any specific type of style like jazz music. And then in theater, acting, directing, and stagecraft. And again, this is very non-genre specific, so we're wanting to align with that. And this slide shows our proposed changes for the content areas of studies in both the authorizations. So again, we are proposing that it be dance technique, dance history, and dance theory. And this slide shows a comparison of what the changes would look like. The first being right now jazz dance, contemporary dance, and dance theory, and then changing to dance technique, dance history, and dance theory. And the National Core Arts Standards define high quality arts learning through the process of creating, responding, presenting, and connecting. And California has adopted a nearly identical framework in its California Art Standards for Public School, reinforcing the importance of these core artistic processes and state curriculum guidance. Changing the jazz dance and jazz dance and contemporary dance, and adding dance history will better align with the National Core Art Standards and the California Art Standards, and also reflects the core values of the integration of technical skill development, contextual understanding, critique, and instructional practice. And I will hand it back over to Lindsay.
Thank you. So in light of these updates that we're suggesting, the CDEA board and those of us on this call searched through course catalogs of various institutions of higher learning, including city and community colleges, public and private universities in the state, for examples of these types of courses, dance technique, dance history, and dance theory, to make sure that they are consistently available and accessible to students studying dance across the state. Broadening from simply jazz and contemporary dance technique, here are some examples of dance technique classes being offered that would count towards our proposed revisions. So we notice that there are a variety of levels, beginning and intermediate, representing techniques with cultural specificity from around the world. We see flamenco, folklorico, and others. This is not an exhaustive list. Jazz, contemporary, ballet, modern, and many other specific techniques would qualify under this new dance technique umbrella. Moving on to dance history. These courses represent multiple perspectives, which is essential when broadening the requirements. The course titles include World Dance Histories. They focus on cultural and social implications of dance across history, and can focus on a particular genre or technique, as we see in this hip hop dance history example, or take a broader view of dance across history. Finally, dance theory courses are currently required in the content area of study for dance, so we're not proposing any changes here, simply including examples to provide context and background. So we strongly urge that the Commission approve the proposed modifications to the current supplementary authorization in dance, and we direct staff to begin the regulatory process to enact these changes, transitioning from jazz, contemporary, and theory to dance technique, dance history, and dance theory. Thank you very much.
Thank you to CIEA and CDEA for your thorough presentations. Staff recommends that the Commission approve the proposed amendments to the Title V regulations as outlined in the item, as the amended language clarifies all methods currently available to educators. And as we've heard from the dance and arts representatives, the amendments also align with related frameworks. Staff recommends that the Commission direct staff to move forward with the beginning the 45-day comment period. And if no credible or objectionable comments are submitted, staff recommend the Commission to authorize the submission of the final statement of reasons to the Office of Administrative Law. And we are now available for any questions.
We will now open for public comment. If there are members of the public that would like to make a comment, please notify the meeting moderator by submitting a request card or by clicking on the raised hand icon if participating through Zoom, or pressing *9 if participating by phone. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per speaker. Recording secretary, are there any public comments?
No public comment.
The public comment period for this item is now closed. Do commissioners have any questions or comments on this item? Commissioner De La Torre.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I just have a question about eliminating jazz as from the list, because I feel that because jazz evolved from the African American social dance tradition, if we eliminated it from a requirement, would that then allow candidates who went through the program to be able to not include any African American social dance traditions in their dance trajectory?
On that,
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Lindsay.
Oh, I can answer this, I think, fairly quickly. I think because of the limited nature of this, there's one course required. So jazz dance, if you have taken a jazz dance class rather than a hip hop class, like a student right now who has taken a hip hop class but not a jazz dance class, would not qualify for the supplementary authorization in dance. So transitioning from specifically jazz to dance technique, which jazz is a dance technique. It broadens the possibilities of folks who have other experiences in dance. It does not exclude jazz in any way. It just opens so other art forms like hip hop, for example, could be included.
I understand that, but my question is, because jazz has such an importance in its historical tradition, would it be possible for a student to not have any studies of dance that included the historical significance of African contributions to dance in their studies?
Good morning, everyone. I'm
Oh.
happy to help clarify that for you, Commissioner. We believe that content would be covered in dance history. So that is one of the required courses of the 20 units. So while there may not be actual physical techniques that the student would be learning, the historical context and importance of that would be covered in the dance history course.
Yeah, I can add to that as well. And I really Actually, thank you for that question, because as someone whose research is in African diaspora dance, I think it's very important. And yes, I think actually, and this is a long question because just because even someone studies, maybe takes a jazz class, it doesn't mean that they're actually learning about the Africanist roots of jazz, because jazz has evolved a lot. And there's lots of different styles of jazz that even maybe lend more to ballet and contemporary. So I agree that adding the dance history is very important, because if you're studying dance history, you're learning about African diaspora lineage of dance, especially in the US, because it's touched like pretty much every genre of dance. So I think that will definitely be covered in dance history. And I don't even think it's guaranteed that it's covered in a jazz technique class per se.
Thank you, because I was just wondering if the origin of including jazz was to ensure that African American social dance tradition was embedded within. I'm trying to recall if that's why that was there, if that's why that was purposely embedded. And I'm wondering if that wasn't the intent, and if by removing it, we're then eliminating that intent. So I'm just trying to, I don't want to undo something that was purposely done and unknowingly. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Risha has a comment.
Yeah, so Michael, I actually really appreciate that question, because you're drawing attention to the fact that that was created in order to address the historic centering of European art forms as the core content for our classes. So speaking now not as a dance educator or even as a CAEA representative, but as someone whose research is all in culturally sustaining pedagogies and practices, and who has served on state and national EDI commissions and task forces, it is contemporary best practices for culturally sustaining pedagogies to remove the concept of a centered canon at all. So the idea is that instead of addressing Eurocentricity with the expanding of a canon or the mandating the inclusion of particular moments in history or art histories, we now have shifted towards mandated categories and processes, and then allowing educators and students to kind of fill in with their own funds of knowledge, with their own experiences and traditions, what practiced examples embody those broader processes and strategies. So with dance in particular, yes, I think what I'm hearing you say is that this was created with the intention of broadening. And what I would like to add to that is that we have moved from what we call like a liberal multiculturalism inclusion model towards this culturally sustaining model that focuses on those overarching umbrellas instead of a checklist of content.
Commissioner Bobry.
Thank you also for coming and joining us today. And I really appreciate CTC's approach to reach out to our content experts. I mean, clearly lots of passion and knowledge, and thank you for sharing that. So I'm in full support of these broader thematic categories. I think they make perfect sense. And I'm also optimistic that broadening what we define as subject matter will bring in new students and more diverse students into our visual arts programs. We started with speaking about Prop 28, and just speaking with our deans and faculty in the CSU, we've started many new performing dance, theater, music programs, and it's been a little challenging getting students. In fact, some of our programs have moved to every other year offerings. We're looking at consortia to keep these programs alive, and so I think this approach will really attract more students. can I put out a plug if there's funding to support our students through these pathways? Because Prop 20 really goes to the school districts, but we still have a need for funding to support teacher prep in this area. Yeah, I see everyone nodding up on the screen too, so I wanted to make that plug. Thank you.
Commissioner Francois?
Thank you, Doctors Lindbergh and Hill. I mean, that was kind of edifying. And Murnick, when I read the agenda item, I was like, this is pretty straightforward. And I agree with Commissioner Poverty that I'm in general support of this. But it did make me think about Commissioner De La Torre's comment, because while in an attempt to make things inclusive, when you don't name things, things become invisible. And this is the danger of this, is that, say for instance, I'm in support of it, because say for instance, we have teachers who come from Hawaii who they studied hula kahiko, right? Right now, the way that it's written, they would have to, if they don't, they would have to take one of the that's listed. So this expands an opportunity for a whole group of teachers who otherwise would have had to take additional coursework. And that makes sense to me. And at the same time, how do we know then the technical experience of the teachers in California will ultimately, it actually will diversify the kinds of experiences that they come into the technique courses with. You know what I mean? Like, where's the accountability? What kind of data can we collect to see if this shift actually matters at all? And I'm looking at Commissioner Sandy, but I think I should be looking over here. In the accreditation process, I guess it would be, or how are we gonna know?
I think we're getting to some very specific issues around what is different about a supplementary authorization and an accredited program. Could you maybe speak to that?
Yeah, sure. Supplementary and subject matter authorizations are applied for directly by the candidate, and it requires no involvement from a preparation program. So it's the candidate completing a series of units in order to meet the qualifications, and the specific content areas that are identified in the regulation are required content. So you can see for these authorizations, it's 3 different courses that are required content, typically making up 9 of the 20 units. And then the student would complete those additional 11 units of any content area that falls within the subject area. And so really, the way that we would be able to track and identify would just to be looking at raw numbers of a potential increase in applicants for these authorizations once the regulations are in effect. So that's our primary mechanism for being able to, assess what the impact might be. If we were to see an increase in applicants, applying for these authorizations, then, we would consider that this had opened up avenues for folks to expand their credential authorization with these auths.
I just am concerned that we don't go backwards in our attempt to go forward in our being inclusive, right? And I think that I'm trying to be careful with my language here. I think that throughout history, we have seen way too many examples of the visible becoming invisible, not because we intended, but because we didn't need them. And so I just want to put that out on the table. But I think you did a beautiful job. You have convinced me that it's worth a shot.
I just wanted to add a couple things as someone who studied dance my whole entire life, and now I'm a professor and have taught over thousands of students. I took jazz as a child growing up, and I never learned that it stemmed from Black history. And students that are coming in from private studios don't know that jazz dance stems from Black history. They learned that in my dance introduction class and my Dance 101 class. So I feel like there's an assumption that jazz was put in to exemplify Black dance, but I think that's an assumption. I'm not sure that's why jazz was put in as a specific style before. So I think that's something that should kind of be researched more before assuming that. Because right now, I would say most dancers who do jazz dance aren't learning about Black history. So I feel like there's a concern about that, and I just wanted to share that from my personal perspective. I think if Black history is a concern, something like West African dance and hip hop dance, but even that is evolving to where some students aren't understanding the roots of hip hop dance coming from Black and Latinx cultures, which is again why we think adding dance history is very important to the list of authorization requirements. And also that I do feel there's an inequity because we are being questioned as dancers why we should keep specific styles, but the other arts do not have specific styles. And so they are able to bring as the example of if there are people from Hawaii or another culture who have studied a different cultural form of music or an art style, they are able to utilize that and not be forced to take a certain class in a specific style and genre, where in dance we are still being forced to do that. So I do think that is an inequity, and I think that's something to think about as well. And we are trying to not feel inequitable as dancers when we are having our students become credential candidates, along with our arts partners.
Commissioner Torres.
First of all, I want to thank you all for the presentation and thank you for our experts for your testimony. Being from the Department of Education and being specifically responsible for standards, frameworks, and instructional materials adoptions, it was actually music to my ears to hear and read the desire to align credentialing and expand supplementary authorizations to better align with the 5 disciplines within the framework, and also very happy to see the inclusion and acknowledgement of media arts as well in the changes made in the documentation. And with my other hat, we're also responsible for administration of Proposition 28. And so also recognizing all of the issues around staffing and the 80% requirement that LEAs have to spend on credentialed teachers. And so I applaud the commission on process to try to find a solution to be able to utilize these funds more effectively, because I can't tell you how many waivers we've gone through and read through, and all the technical assistance we've provided, and all the different individual meetings we've had with school districts to try to help them troubleshoot and try to help them kind of find creative ways to get more credentialed educators to fill this very important need that the voters of California decided was, and rightfully so, very important to have. So thank you all. One question I have to conclude is, since it is a supplemental authorization and somebody who's applying for it does not necessarily need to sponsor, that doesn't necessarily keep a credential program from offering an arts program and then having that available to pre-service teachers to be able to apply for a supplemental when they complete their program. Is that right?
You are correct. Yeah. So a preparation program can design a series of courses that would meet the requirements for the supplementary authorization. That they could request that authorization be added upon completion of the candidate's preliminary credential, or it could be set outside of the preliminary credential program that an individual could just take on their own.
I was hoping you'd say. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions from commissioners? I have a couple of weedy questions. Okay. In previous times, when we send something to the OAL, they have not liked things that are not specific. I'm thinking about specific titles of bachelor's degrees. Are we going into any problems with that here?
We have definitions in the proposed regulations to define the courses. So I don't think we should.
Could you speak a little bit to the change from bachelor's to associate?
Yes, the requirements that are in the subject matter competency statute allow associates degree, so that we're just making parity with the requirements that are required for like a full single subject credential.
And finally, I have a question that I should know the answer to, but I don't. How do you handle foreign transcripts for supplementary authorizations?
The same as we would for any other type of requirement. They would need to have a foreign transcript evaluation agency that's approved by the commission complete that evaluation. And then our analysts would.
This is an action item. Do I have a motion to approve the proposed amendments to Title V of the California Code of Regulations related to supplementary and subject matter authorizations?
Someone.
Wait a second. Any further discussion from commissioners? Having been moved and seconded? Will the recording secretary please call for the vote? Each member please respond with aye, nay, or abstain.
Well, I called the vote. I'm sorry, I missed who actually made the motion in second?
Commissioner Brown? Yes.
You. Lynette Brown. Aye. Dave Cardenas.
Aye.
Juan Cruz.
Aye.
Tori.
Aye.
Peter Guino Shire.
Aye.
Ira Lett.
Aye.
Ruben Mencius.
Aye.
Andy Redfern.
Aye.
David Simmons.
Aye.
Richard Simpson. Mike Torres.
Aye.
Wang Yuzoff. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, guys. Because I'm anticipating that the next item may take a little while. We're going to have a break. So we will come back at 11:10. 11:10?
11:15.
11:15.
Read me questions.
And our second item is item 2B. Proposed amendments to Title V, Section 8002.1 and 8002.5.3 pertaining to general education substitute teaching assignments beyond 30 days. This is an information action item that presents a refined proposal in the form of proposed amendments to Title V of the California Code of Regulations, Sections 80025.1 and 80025.3 related to extended substitute teaching assignments. And responsive to commission direction and action at the December 2025 meeting, this item will be presented by Aaron Skubal. Ms. Skubal, will you please begin?
I sure will. Let me get my script up because I'm multitasking here and I was trying to be paperless and maybe that wasn't the best. 1 second. Interwebs are not working. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna stop sharing. What happens when you try to be paperless and environmentally friendly and then it backfires on you? Okay. Technology. Nemesis.
So how about those Seahawks?
Sore subject here.
Go Seahawks. Better yet, how about Bad Bunny?
Yeah. I don't know why. Yay. Had to call in another errand to save the day, and we're on our way here. Thanks for your patience.
Two errands.
Errands for the price of one. Okay. Back to sharing screen. I wish my 16-year-old was here. She'd be able to do this better than I can. Okay. Now that you're all building with anticipation, let's get started. Good morning, everyone. It is still morning. I haven't gotten into the noon hour yet. I am here with item 2B, which presents a refined proposal related to general education substitute teaching assignments that extend beyond 30 days. In part, this item responds to the governor's veto of Assembly Bill 1224, which directed the commission to expeditiously re-examine and amend its short-term staffing pathways to support continuity of instruction and to address the minimum levels of preparation and support required. In addition to the governor's veto message, this item also responds to the commission's action on item 3B, which was presented at the December 2025 commission meeting. The December item presented 3 recommendations. You may recall, recommendation 1 was to expand the 30-day substitute authorization for credentialed teachers. Recommendation 2 was to establish an alternate pathway for the 60-day career substitute teaching permit. And recommendation 3 was to create a 60-day teaching permit for vacancies. These actions directed staff to return with a refined proposal related to the recommendations in item 3B that incorporate education partner feedback. As well, commission discussion and public comments also requested that staff explore the feasibility and legality of expanding substitute permit service beyond 20 days, specifically in special education classrooms. In order to ensure that the commission met the governor's expectations for expediency and utilization of existing commission authority, staff focused the refinement efforts around the commission's existing powers and authority. This includes the powers that the legislature has already delegated to it, primarily through education code, to set, interpret, and implement policy by regulation. The refined proposal does not present solutions by which the commission has no direct authority, as the commission cannot contradict or expand rules beyond legislative intent and cannot impose policy that the education code does not support with its existing authority. So, targeting the commission's authority in promulgating regulations, staff began to work on refining the December proposals by drafting proposed regulatory language. For those that might be unfamiliar with the regulatory process, this process serves as the mechanism for the commission to clarify and specify details of credential policies and are a requirement for staff to move policy concepts forward for use by our educational partners. The process also serves as an open and transparent opportunity for education partners and the public to provide additional feedback and further refinement, as regulatory language is presented and approved in a public meeting, such as this one, and is also submitted to OAL for public comment period. So, consistent with commission direction, staff engaged education partners in more than 30 conversations between November 6th, 2025 and February 9th, 2026, soliciting feedback from at least 11 different partner groups representing employers, labor unions, state education agencies, equity advocates, disability rights groups, and the legislature. You can just see the multitude of partners that we engaged with on this slide here. Through these conversations, commission staff refined and modified multiple components of the recommendations, including negotiating acceptable requirements for pre-service preparation, mentoring and support, and renewal expectations for the proposals. However, negotiations ultimately arrived at a place where different interest holders expressed steadfast opinions on many of the aspects of the recommendations. And as such, the details provided in the item represent the closest compromise that staff was able to reach between groups of varying interests. Ultimately, the refined proposals build upon this robust engagement, as well as commission feedback, and are clarified in the item as your proposed regulations. So what are those specific proposals? For recommendation 1, which was to expand the ability for fully credentialed teachers to substitute in a general education classroom for up to 60 days, the proposed regulations update the limitation from 30 days for one teacher in a general education classroom to as many as 60 days, as long as that teacher holds a bilingual, single, or education specialist teaching credential. The proposal also clarifies that when a teacher's authorization aligns with the specific teaching assignment that they're substituting in, no limitation exists for service. It's important to clarify that this does not require the teacher to obtain any additional authorization or apply for a substitute permit. It would just be authorized by their existing teaching credential. For recommendation 2, the proposed changes expand and formalize a new pathway to qualify for and renew an emergency career substitute teaching permit, specifically for substitutes who don't meet the traditional 3 years of service requirement. The proposed changes are designed to lower the experience barrier to the career substitute permit and allow districts to grow career subs through training rather than waiting 3 years. With the new training-based eligibility option, a district or county office would be able to verify that the applicant has completed 15 hours of pre-service preparation that's aligned with existing preparation standards in Section 80022 of Title V regulations. That content would be required to cover instructional best practices, IEPs and special education basics, classroom management, curriculum and instruction, health, safety and hygiene, and local school district content. The proposed changes also tighten expectations around training, mentoring, and ongoing support for substitutes, while keeping existing limits on how long they can replace a single teacher. If a substitute qualifies through the new 15-hour training pathway, the employing agency would be required to provide at least 2 hours per week of ongoing support. The support must come from a school site certificated staff member and may include coaching, check-ins, modeling routines, and helping with lesson plans. Additionally, reissuance requirements are expanded only for those substitutes who would qualify through the new training pathway. For those substitutes, reissuance now would require continued weekly mentoring and support of at least 2 hours per week, and 30 additional hours of preparation that covers all remaining substitute preparation topics listed in Section 80022, not included in the original 15 hours that were required. As well, continued access to district professional learning opportunities would also be required. This turns the emergency career substitute permit into a progressive development model, not a one and done emergency credential. The proposed modifications also build upon existing mechanisms for transparency and accountability. The career substitute permit is a restricted permit and it's restricted to the employing agency that requests the permit. This allows insight into which LEAs may be using the permit for extended substitute assignments. As well, issuance of the permit requires that an LEA have a declaration of need on file with the commission, which does require school board approval. Comments at the December meeting around recommendation 3 from both our education partners and commissioners touched on concerns regarding the legality of an extension of service for vacant special education assignments, prompting staff to conduct further analysis of education code and federal laws. After careful review of Education Code 56061, which is under the purview of the State Superintendent of Public Instruction and the California Department of Education, and in consideration of the Federal Individuals with Disabilities Act, or IDEA, staff does not recommend further pursuit of any recommendations that would increase the service limitation for substitute assignments beyond 20 days in special education classrooms. And therefore, this refined proposal does not carry recommendation 3 forward. Even though staff is not recommending action that would extend special education substitute assignments, there is currently one existing way that employers may extend such assignments to 40 or, in extenuating circumstances, to 60 days in special education classrooms. Under Education Code 56061, a district or county office of education may submit an extension request to the state superintendent of public instruction. If granted, the assignment may be extended from 20 to 40 days. In extraordinary circumstances, the superintendent may grant an additional 20 days for a total of 60 days in one assignment. This additional extension must be reported to the State Board of Education, and this is an active education code that is in effect today. So that's the summary of the recommendations that we have presented to you in proposed regulations. And this concludes my presentation of the refined policy, and that language is available for you in item 2B. Staff recommends that the Commission approve the refined proposal for recommendations 1 and 2, inclusive of any specific desired changes that you may have to the regulatory language, and direct staff to begin the rulemaking process. If approved, staff will begin this process and submit the regulatory language to the Office of Administrative Law, which will post that language for public notice and begin the rulemaking process. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
We will now open for public comment. If there are members of the public that would like to make a comment, please notify the meeting moderator by submitting a request card or by clicking on the raised hand icon if participating through Zoom, or pressing *9 if participating by phone. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per speaker. Recording secretary, are there any public comments?
Yes. Kyle Highland, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Good morning. My name is Kyle Highland, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Coalition for Adequate Funding for Special Education, representing more than 120 SELPAs statewide. CAFC appreciates the Commission's efforts to respond to the Governor's direction following the veto of AB 1224. We recognize the intent to improve instructional continuity through regulatory flexibility. However, as currently drafted, the proposed amendments do not meaningfully improve continuity for students with disabilities and may unintentionally deepen inequities between general education and special education classrooms. We oppose recommendation 1 because it extends 60-day substitute flexibility exclusively to general education classrooms, leaving special education students who often experience the most significant staffing disruptions without comparable options. We also oppose recommendation 2. Although the inclusion of preparation and support requirements reflects principles embedded in AB 1224, this pathway does not address the core challenges faced by LEAs in maintaining continuity of special education services. Moreover, expanding substitute authorization options solely within general education risks unintentionally diverting limited substitute capacity away from special education classrooms, increasing fiscal strain and compliance risks for SELPAs. Substitute authorizations alone will not resolve the education workforce crisis, particularly in special education where LEAs must meet IDEA requirements every instructional day. Any solution should provide practical, inclusive staffing tools that support continuity for all students and center the needs of students with disabilities. CASP respectfully urges the Commission not to proceed as written and to continue refining a more equitable and workable approach. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Rachel Murphy, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Good morning. Rachel Murphy from Public Advocates and the LCFF Equity Coalition. First, we want to express our appreciation for the Commission's responsiveness to our feedback. We strongly support the Commission's removal of the proposed option to create a 60-day limited teaching permit for vacancies, which we believe would violate Williams generally and IDEA requirements for special education students. We also support the Commission's decision to limit the 60-day substitute authorization to apply only to general education assignments. Should LEAs have a justifiable need to extend the time for placing substitutes in special education assignments, they should utilize Education Code Section 56061, which permits with SPI approval the use of substitutes to double the standard time up to 40 days. This provision has been little used. LEAs cannot legitimately claim they are suffering from a lack of options and seek to increase even further the exposure of special education students to underprepared teachers without first exhausting all the options available to them under existing law. As to recommendation 1 to expand a 30-day substitute authorization, we request that the language be modified to clarify that its reference to credentialed teachers only applies to fully credentialed teachers. We identify specific revisions in our submitted letter. We also request weekly site-level mentoring and support with particular attention to serving English learners and students with disabilities, as well as additional subject matter preparation, ideally in the first 30 days of their assignment. As to recommendation 2 to establish an alternate pathway for the 60-day career substitute permit, we request that the completion of the remaining 30 hours of on-the-job training be required within the first 30 days. At minimum, we believe it should be required by the end of the 60 days. Finally, the regulation should clearly require following the hiring hierarchy outlined in Education Code Section 44225.7 and looking for retired teachers prior to hiring substitutes who are not fully credentialed. We appreciate the need to create more options and pathways for longer-term substitute teachers, but we simply cannot lower standards without exhausting all existing options and without a plan to get more substitutes trained and more credentialed teachers in the classroom. Thank you.
Pamela Gibbs, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today on item 2B. I'm Pamela Gibbs, representing the Los Angeles County Office of Education. We are aligned with many of our partners here with expressing concerns related to recommendation 1 and recommendation 2. First of all, we want to thank you and the staff for taking the time to attempt to address the governor's veto message of AB 1224. We know that your efforts were sincere, and we are hoping to work with you on this matter. We also want to express our concerns with recommendation 1 related to further bifurcating the special education and general education classrooms which is in direct conflict with our efforts to provide inclusive learning environments to our students. At LACO, we offer educational programs to students who have special needs, also students in juvenile justice system and other programs throughout the spectrum. And we believe it's important to provide inclusive learning environments for these students in all of the spaces where we are serving them. As for recommendation 2, which proposes to create an alternate pathway, we believe that ultimately this item could potentially be a barrier to some of the teachers that we're trying to bring in as substitutes. And so ultimately, the immediate relief is needed to support our students who are adversely impacted by staffing. We know the COVID era flexibility that was provided was extremely helpful to our students, and we find that there's no reason to change that for these situations now, and at least to provide stability while we're facing a severe crisis in providing for educators. We believe our mutual goals of providing students with consistent high quality education and support for our educators can be met, and we look forward to engaging with you in ongoing conversations. Thank you very much for your time, and we respectfully request that the commission not proceed with the regulatory processes until we can continue to work on an approach providing for inclusivity. Thank you.
The caller from the phone number ending in 617. Please unmute your phone and share your comment.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm McLean Rosansky with the Alameda County Office of Education, or ACOE. We appreciate CTC's ongoing partnership with ACOE to address staffing shortages through professional preparation programs, and we acknowledge the efforts of staff and members have made thus far to address the issue of substitute teacher assignments. While ACOE appreciates these efforts, we do not believe the current recommendations go far enough to address the crisis facing our schools. To fully address this crisis, policy changes must address special education teacher vacancies as well. We are concerned that the recommendations in this agenda item, focused solely on general education substitutes, may worsen the shortages in special education by taking substitute candidates from that already depleted pool. For these reasons, we do not support the recommendations presented in this agenda item without additional solutions to address special education teacher vacancies. That said, should these recommendations become policy, we will work closely with our districts to implement them. We would support a combination of statutory and regulatory fixes that address the full range of teacher vacancies in both general and special education. Thank you.
Angela Reed, unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Good morning. Commissioners, my name is Leangela Reed, and I'm calling in on behalf of the Small School Districts Association. Commission staff have moved quickly in response to the governor's request to revisit staffway pathways. However, we have not had enough time in the field to fully review these proposed regulations or to determine whether they will meaningfully improve continuity of instruction. For that reason, we respectfully ask the Commission not to act on the recommendations today and to allow more time to consider other options in a more robust conversation with interested parties. Recommendation 1 relies on fully credentialed teachers serving in longer substitute assignments, but many of our districts struggle to recruit credentialed teachers due to geography and pay disparities. It's unclear how this proposal will move the needle. Recommendation 2 also raises questions. If the preparation is similar to a pathway that allows someone to teach for an entire year, it's unclear why an emergency substitute would only be authorized for 60 days. These concerns underscore the need for more time and careful review. We're also concerned that both recommendations could unintentionally reinforce silos between general and special ed classrooms. Substitute policies alone will not solve the workforce shortage. We urge the Commission to pause the regulatory process until the state is ready to take a more comprehensive approach to instructional continuity. Thank you, staff, for your work, and thank you all for consideration of our request.
McDougall?
Didn't ask me to unmute.
Good morning, commissioners, staff. Steve McDougall with CFTA Union of Educators and Classified Professionals. CFT supports staff's recommendations regarding substitute credentialing, both recommendations, and we agree the exposure that could be created by extending the duration for substitutes in jobs that require contact with students with disabilities in the secluded setting. Thank you for your work. Thank you for responding to the governor's veto message pretty quickly because we need positions filled. We would prefer that we had fully staffed schools without substitutes. That's not our reality. And when I hear things about pay disparity, well, I can probably speak for all of labor and say we told you so. Been saying that a long time. Labor's been speaking lately, if you've been paying attention to the news, and there's more to come. Stay tuned on that. But back to the substitute equation. We know that districts budget for being fully staffed each year when they adopt their budgets in June. And when they start the year without fully staffed schools, districts enjoy having not to pay for a fully staffed position and putting that right into the reserve. Why not invest in that differential in your temporary substitute labor force? If that's how you're going to patchwork quilt it for the year or part of the year, then invest in those folks. Make them ready for the work on day one. Thank you.
Adrian Yachty?
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Adrian Miotti. I am a high school English teacher here on behalf of California Teachers Association. We are pleased to express our support for the proposed regulations. Last year, CTA opposed AB 1224 and its proposal to increase the time that substitute teachers can serve to 60 days. We recognize there is a staffing shortage. However, there needs to be long-term solutions rather than codifying a Band-Aid solution. The proposed regulations brought before you create a structure for training and support for substitutes to serve long-term. It is thoughtful in how it is structured to support a substitute and is also reasonable for an employer to implement. When you break down the hours, it's roughly 2 days of essential readiness before entering a classroom, 20 to 30 minutes of daily check-ins from a mentor teacher or a certificated staff member, and 2.5 hours a week of on-the-job training and preparation. Substitute teachers should be supported and prepared, and we respectfully request you to approve this item. Thank you.
Yolanda Munoz.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Yolanda Munoz. I'm a third grade teacher here on behalf of the California Teachers Association. As stated by my colleague, we support these proposed regulations. Something not included in this item that was in AB 1224 is a long-term substitute option for special education. CTA would not support regulations that increase the time substitute teachers can serve in a special education class. We should not create a system where one of our most valuable populations would not receive instruction from a credentialed teacher for a third of the school year. Students with disabilities deserve to have and must have a qualified and trained individual to write and carry out their IEPs. We thank the CTC for acknowledging the potential conflict, federal and state laws, and support the decision to omit from the proposed regulations at this time. Instead, we should focus on solutions that would bring individuals into the profession to serve as special education teachers. CTA respectfully requests that you approve item 2B. Thank you.
Saret Kaminsky.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and staff. Sarah Kaminsky on behalf of the Association of California School Administrators. Thank you for agendizing this topic at this meeting and at the last, showcasing the seriousness of this potential policy change. Our 18,000 administrators also approach this topic with utmost seriousness and are seeking continuity for California classrooms. Unfortunately, these proposed regulations fall severely short of providing meaning since they don't address special education classrooms at all and could actually have the unintended consequence of further shrinking the subpool for special ed classrooms. The CTC has a reputation for thoroughness. Just look at the consent item today and the proposed regs for the child development perk. That process was designed with a working group with diverse membership, a thoughtful examination of the need, and a vetting process before regs were proposed. Yet on this topic, employers, the very administrators who have been saying the realities in schools are dire and subs are rotating in and out of classrooms to cover leaves, were noticed the same day as the public, allowing only 4 full business days to vet the regs and prepare letters. We can't make good policy without the right process. AXA is asking the CTC to slow down and truly engage and collaborate with employers to understand the true realities in schools before initiating the regulatory process. These proposals don't give us the continuity employers need. As referenced in the Equity Coalition letter, utilizing retired teachers as subs is not a sustainable option since that flexibility will expire in June of this year. The gap between demand and supply is huge, and the 60-day flexibility we had for 3 years worked. Schools and districts need immediate, usable staffing tools, and they need to apply equitably across general education and special ed settings. Advancing these regs now without the thoughtful vetting of unintended consequences would add yet another challenge to providing students with consistent, high-quality education that they deserve. Thank you.
Ursula Estrada Reveles.
Hello there. So my name is Dr. Ursula Estrada Reveles, and I had the pleasure of serving as the co-chair along with Mandy Redford on the redesign for the Teacher Performance Assessment Work Group. And I've had the privilege of working closely with the commission and observing firsthand how deeply the CTC values meaningful engagement and the broader educational community when considering policy changes. It is in that spirit that I offer my comments here today on item 2B. The regulations presented today include edited regulatory recommendations that represent significant changes. However, stakeholders were given only 6 days to review and explore the potential impact of these revisions. Given the complexity of credentialing systems and the far-reaching implications they have for preparation programs, candidates, and ultimately California's students, 6 days is simply not sufficient time for thoughtful analysis, consultation, and feedback. Without a doubt, if the commission moves forward with the decision today, there is a strong likelihood of unintended consequences. Even well-intentioned and carefully designed regulations can create unforeseen challenges when stakeholders have not had adequate time to fully examine implementation impacts. It may very well be that with additional time for engagement, the ultimate outcome remains the same. However, what has always distinguished the CTC is its commitment to inclusive, deliberate, and transparent processes. I deeply admire that the commission takes the time necessary to ensure that all voices are heard and that decisions are informed by broad and meaningful impact. For these reasons, I respectfully recommend that the commission not take action on item 2B today and instead allow additional time for stakeholder engagement and careful consideration. Thank you for your time and your continued leadership on behalf of California's educators and students.
Brianna Bruns.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brianna Brands on behalf of the California County Superintendents. We appreciate the Commission and staff's quick response to the Governor's call to strengthen continuity of instruction for our students. As proposed, these regulations will not meaningfully improve continuity and may actually worsen instructional instability in our special education classrooms. For recommendation 1, allowing fully credentialed teachers up to 60 days to serve for general education classrooms may seem helpful, but it creates inequity. If continuity matters for our general education students, it matters just as much, if not more, for our students with disabilities. California has repeatedly emphasized that general and special education must operate as one cohesive system. This proposal moves us in the opposite direction by further bifurcating classrooms. We recognize that a statute change would be needed to make this happen, and we're open to exploring that option, but we'd encourage this policy to not move forward until it's able to be done for all students. For recommendation 2, creating a new pathway to the emergency career substitute permit with 45 total hours of preparation does not address the core workforce challenges that local educational agencies face. The 45-hour training requirement, of course, mirrors the TPSL, which authorizes an individual to remain in a classroom for up to the entire school year. Why are we requiring the same preparation for a permit limited to 60 days? Additionally, codifying these hours may conflict with local collective bargaining agreements and could unintentionally pull away substitutes from special education assignments. We believe substitute teachers are not the solution to the workforce shortage. Further, classroom stability and training are not in conflict, but we do need comprehensive solutions that support continuity for all our students, not just some. We respectfully urge the Commission to not move forward with this rulemaking process and instead work towards a more inclusive statewide approach that strengthens instructional continuity across both special and general education classrooms. Thank you for your time.
Michelle Gill.
Everyone, Michelle Gale on behalf of California Association of School Business Officials. We appreciate the Commission's response to the Governor's request to revisit short-term staffing pathways. However, the proposed regulations do not meaningfully improve continuity of instruction and may worsen disparities in special education. From our perspective, neither recommendation provides meaningful benefit. Instead, they introduce additional hurdles and fail to address actual workforce needs. For these reasons, we urge the Commission to not move forward with rulemaking at this time. Regarding recommendation 1, limiting this flexibility to only general education classrooms risks deepening inequities. If instructional continuity matters for general education students, it matters equally for students with special needs. California promotes special education and general education operating as one system, and all students benefit from inclusive, coordinated instruction that seamlessly provides necessary supports. Regarding recommendation 2, this proposal does not address the core workforce challenges local educational agencies face, and it may conflict with locally negotiated agreements. It also creates inconsistencies. TPSL holders may serve an entire school year, yet emergency career substitutes permit holders remain limited to 60 days. Constant rotation of substitutes is disruptive. It destabilizes classrooms and school communities. We agree that students need supported instructional continuity until a fully credentialed teacher can be placed. Replacing fully credentialed educators remains the goal. However, workforce realities persist. Many retirees have not returned post-COVID, and rural areas often lack a sufficient pool of credentialed substitutes. We are also concerned that these recommendations do not reflect stakeholder feedback and could lead to unintended consequences. We respectfully urge the Commission to pause the regulatory process until a comprehensive, inclusive approach is adopted, one that strengthens instructional continuity for all students. We look forward to continued collaboration to support educators and ensure every student receives consistent, high-quality education. Thank you.
Jessica Sacco.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jessica Sacco on behalf of Children Now, here to support the recommendations in the item. Regarding recommendation number 1, we feel that it maintains the guardrails that need to be in place and appreciate the clarifications that are offered. There are some additional clarifications to this that are outlined in our coalition letter with the Equity Coalition that I refer you to. Regarding recommendation number 2, we do encourage there to be a consideration of adding a limitation of the amount of time that allows a candidate to earn the additional education as a part of that emergency training of perhaps 30 to 60 days. And then in listening to the comments of the various interest holders, as well as reading the letters that were submitted, and in recognition of the state as well as this Commission's commitment to a process of continuous improvement, I would encourage the Commission to look at, if this is passed today and if this is implemented, to really look at those unintended consequences that may bubble up as a part of this process and look at bringing up this item again for reflection to determine if this was the correct course of action moving forward, as we want to ensure that all of our kids have access to the highest quality educator possible.
Chris Reef.
Good morning, Commission members, audience. Chris Reef, on behalf of the California School Boards Association, appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today. I want to echo the comments of my colleagues in appreciating the work of the CTC and staff. But unfortunately, we are here to urge the Commission to not take action on this item today. I want to just point out on behalf of our nearly 5,000 school board members who represent over nearly 1,000 school districts. Of our about 940 school districts, 545 of them are small. The vast majority of them are very small. These are sometimes single school site districts where they're only allowed to have one administrator on staff. That one administrator, it also can serve as the teacher. They can serve as the transportation director, the special ed director, the facilities director, the high school coach. And so to expect a small school district administrator to be able to undertake additional administrative tasks to seek out a waiver or other types of administrative tasks, yes, although that is possible, it is placing additional burdens on an already burdened district.
And so this is going to have a disproportionate impact on our small school districts, especially. I have school board members who are retired teachers who have been recruited by neighboring districts to serve as substitute teachers. And so they're keeping their substitute credential active so they can serve in other districts. My school districts are utilizing other school board members to recruit other board members from other districts to be act as substitute teachers if they have an active credential. We are in desperate times. This is something that has been a product of our previous sponsored bill, where we tried to reach agreement on a temporary approach. This is a permanent approach, and this will create greater disparities across the state. And so we strongly urge the commission to table this for further discussion. And I'll just say, I know I'm short on time here, but CSB, as you'll notice, wasn't on the list in terms of organizations that had the opportunity to meet with the CTC. We would continue to encourage that those stakeholder engagement be continued and be more thorough and inclusive. Thank you.
Melanie Mata, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Good morning or almost afternoon, everyone. Melanie Mata on behalf of Hope Elementary School District, a small rural school district in California. And I do echo the sentiments of my colleagues at SSDA, AXA, and CSBA. We know these proposals or recommendations are meant to help, and we truly appreciate the urgency behind them. But we are asking you to pause before moving forward, because decisions made here have immediate and disproportionate impacts on small school districts like mine. I believe the commission needs more time to understand how these changes will play out on the ground and to be a part of shaping the solutions that protect continuity for students. Approaches that rely primarily on credentialed teachers filling sub-roles don't always work for small and rural districts. We already face ongoing challenges in recruiting and retaining credentialed staff due to geography, housing, pay gaps, and the like with larger neighboring systems. I just want you to know that small schools are resilient and we problem solve every day to keep classrooms running. I sub quite often in classrooms myself, and I'm the superintendent principal at my district. What we're asking for is thoughtful policy that reflects our reality and includes us in building solutions that truly work for the students we serve. Thank you for your time and considering to pause and gather the perspective of small and rural communities. Thank you.
Ms. Anna, please unmute your microphone and share your comment. Anna, can you hear us? Can you please unmute your microphone and share your comment? Simmons?
You done?
Doesn't appear that this last individual. You or maybe she raised her hand mistakenly. So with that,
Do we have anybody else?
say that we have no other requests for public comment.
Okay, so given that there are no more public commenters that are available, the public comment period for this item is now closed. Before I go to commissioner questions, I would like to ask a clarifying question. TPSL came up a lot in comments. Could you go over with us what are the requirements for the TPSL in terms of subject matter, free service, and all of that, and then how you get what does it allow you to do?
Absolutely. The TPSL permit allows an individual to serve in a statutory leave vacancy. That means there is a teacher of record who is out on a mandated leave. And so an individual is able to serve for the entire length of that leave, which could be anywhere from a few weeks to an entire school year in extreme circumstances. In order to obtain the TPSL permit, the holder needs to have completed a full 45 hours of preparation, which covers not just those few content areas that were listed on the slide for you, but it covers the full breadth of content areas that are outlined in regulation prior to being issued the permit. So they're completing 45 hours of preparation prior to their initial issuance of their permit. And there's very specific mandated support and mentoring that's required of 2 hours per week by a fully credentialed teacher whose authorization aligns with the subject area that the TPSL holder is serving in. So if they're in statutory leave assignment for math, they're getting support and mentoring from a fully credentialed math teacher. Additionally, they must complete an additional 45 hours for the first 2 renewals of their permit. So they're completing 3 separate 45-hour modules of preparation spread out across those first 3 years of issuance of the permit. And the last thing that's different is that there is a subject matter component that is required for issuance of the TPSL. So an individual needs to be meeting the subject matter component for a single subject credential area, for the multiple subject authorization, and for the special education authorization. So they are issued with specific authorization content areas, unlike the substitute permits, which cover any content area. So I think those are the primary differences. As a comparison, the proposal requires 15 hours of that pre-service preparation prior to issuance. So that's 30 fewer hours. And it only requires 30 hours for renewal, which for the TPSL, it requires an additional 45 hours for the first renewal and for the second renewal. For the career substitute, the second renewal the proposal does not require any additional hours. So all preparation in total is 45 hours versus 45, 90, 135 hours for the TPSL to complete all the renewals.
And I'm sorry, just to clarify again, what is the subject matter requirement for a special education TPSL holder?
The subject matter requirement can be met through 3 semester units of coursework in special education content or a specific number of years of experience in a special education classroom, or through meeting the subject matter for the single subject or multiple subject content areas. So it mirrors what a full special education credential requires, which can be met through comparable subject matter for multiple or single subject credentials.
So that's either 18 units in a single subject area or 40 units spread into 4 groups of 10 for multiple subjects.
Or CSET.
Okay. As someone who has 4 resource specialists who are right now out pregnant, only each of those can take 20 weeks. TPSL is really, we could make things work without that.
And I do also want to add that the TPSL permit may not serve in those extended lengths of time for a vacancy. So this is only authorizes that extended service when there is a teacher of record, and it requires that the teacher of record provide lesson plans for, I believe it's the first 4 weeks of service at minimum. Whereas the career sub is often utilized for vacant assignments.
So given that, do commissioners have any questions or comments on this item?
I just want to say thank you to staff for your recommendations today, and thank you to our community for bringing various perspectives to our attention. I think the need for balancing students' access to a highly qualified individual, but also a consistent experience is what we're grappling with today. And I really appreciate the 2 pathways that were provided by staff. And I appreciate the promptness with which you've done this, which was the directive. So I appreciate that today. I wanted to just highlight something which was the direction to make sure that we, if we do move forward, which I do support today, moving forward with these two pathways, having staff watch what the impact of that implementation is, and come back to us with any unintended consequences that have been surfaced as a possibility here in the room today, just so that we're aware of the impact of this decision today. Thanks.
Sorry. Commissioner Cruz.
Thanks to the commission staff. I know that this is a very complicated item, and when we talk about substitutes serving in a vacant position versus a position that is due to somebody being out for a number of different reasons for an extended period of time, and balancing the need for having highly qualified folks teaching our students obviously is paramount for all of us. So I just have a question. Is there any potential impact if we were to slow down and go out to the field to gather more input and explore other possible legally compliant solutions that can meet the needs of both gen ed and special needs students? Are we in somehow on a timeline that the governor's veto put us on?
I think that the governor's use of the word expedient is why we're bringing the regulatory language forward. However, this is just this is a pre-step in the regulatory process. This isn't even technically beginning the regulatory process. So this is the process by which the commission as a body hears the proposed regulatory language and has the opportunity to amend or modify it in any way that they see fit, or take whatever action is appropriate. At that point, the regulatory language would be submitted to the Office of Administrative Law only as a public notice. So that starts the process. It opens a public notice period. So it's noticing the public that the commission as a body intends to modify regulation. And with that intention, it opens up the opportunity for members of the public and our partners in education to make any additional comments for further conversations to occur. And at that point, a potential for a public hearing would be available, which would be a public meeting as well. So it is really just the beginning of the process. And regulations take 6 months to a year from the beginning of this point to come into fruition. So, while I definitely understand the sentiment that it feels like it's that we're moving quickly, it is a long process to get regulations approved, 6 months to a year. And so this is not by any means intended to be the only conversations it's had regarding this language.
Can I just, excuse me, Commissioner Simmons, if I could just add a little bit to this. So we've heard a lot of testimony that this particular proposal does not resolve the question of how we fill substitute positions in special education. And staff provided a background for that earlier. So moving forward on today's for general education does not preclude the commission from continuing to engage with the Ed Coalition and all of the voices that have been heard today. We have been in conversation with all of them that accepted our invitation to engage, and some did not. Some said, no, we're going to go get a bill, which is fine. That's absolutely part of the process that we're in. But getting our arms together wrapped around how to handle the special education problem that is presented as central to any solution is not precluded by action you take today. You can take action and move gen ed forward. And we commit to continue the type of engagement we've been involved in. If there are real ideas and real possibilities for addressing state, federal, and case law that seems to govern what's happening in a special education classroom, we're in for those conversations. We'll commit to you as your staff to do so, and continue to support finding pathways that could work there. But these are not mutually exclusive. I'm just offering that to you today.
And I think we have Adam's here to help. Yes, thank you.
I'd just like to offer that, just to reinforce Executive Director Sandy's point, that, there's with the sequencing, moving forward with the additional flexibilities to existing options does not preclude the special education conversation from moving forward. And in our research, as we were engaging with partners over many hours starting in November and continuing through to, I believe we stopped this week. What we discovered is that there is a current process in Education 56061 that allows for the extension of 20 days to 40 days total, and then the extension of 40 to 60 days total. And so it seems like that has to be, the center of discussions around special education. So this is a sort of a combination. We can move, the regulations that are here today, provide some additional flexibility to get those substitutes that are reliable and that are ready to be in a 60-day setting, to get them the training that they need in order to serve in that status. And that it also allows, I think, the 100,000 teachers that we have that have a credential but are not currently serving, it allows them to be in classrooms more for a longer period of time. And that was something that there's general consensus around during the engagement process for most of us. So just wanted to add that and reinforce your message.
I think that Commissioner Simpson had a comment.
Yeah, thank you. This kind of reminds me of I used to do training for new legislators and new legislative staff years ago, and one of the pieces of advice I would give is, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And that kind of feels like going on here. As you've just heard, this doesn't preclude us from looking at the special education issues. The proposals that we had in recommendation 3, I think from the last meeting, was in conflict with statutory law. And so that's not something we can deal with by regulation. And the governor's veto message asked us to use our authority to try to improve the situation, which is exactly doing. So given that we are faced with the Shakespearean choice of to be or not to be, I tend to to be. So
I'm sorry, I missed the last one. I was chuckling.
I also favor moving forward with this and continuing the conversation about what, if anything, we can do to improve special ed.
Okay, so Marquita Greeno Shire.
No, I follow that up, but let me try. I want to thank all of our colleagues for their thoughtful input, and of course our commission staff for the item that you put forth to commission. I too am in favor of moving forward with item 2B, with coming back to this table to examine unintended consequences. And I am persuaded to do that because it appears to me in all my reading of the documents that there are immediate staffing tools available to our district and LEA partners right now to help with the teacher shortage. And even more concern, perhaps for me as a special educator, is the potential impact on IDA on students with disabilities. So I think if we can move forward with direction to the staff to come back to examine any unintended consequences, that would be my recommendation. And again, I want to thank all of our colleagues for their thoughtful input.
Okay, Commissioner Mencius.
Sure. I want to echo the comments by my fellow commissioners and our executive director. I'm in favor of moving forward with the recommendations. I will point out that didn't end up well for Hamlet, so be careful as a particular character. the idea that we are willing to look at unintended consequence, I hope is a given. I hope that we are always reflective and recursive in our process, and the idea that if there is something that we need to address, we would of course come back and address it. And I agree, I'm speaking as a special educator. That is something that needs to be looked at, to be an and rather than a. So I think that is something that we can come back and look at in addition. But these are thoughtful recommendations. Thank you to all the work that's been done. And appropriate to move forward, to give these tools to the people in the field to utilize them now. And then we can continue to solve, additional concerns as we move forward.
Doris.
I just want to echo everyone's these sentiments and appreciate Dr. Mary Sandy's framing that although this item is to move forward with the larger group of students, that doesn't mean we cannot do anything for our students with disabilities. Very important. I also want to say that although there is a mechanism that's been identified throughout these conversations, whether or not extending an existing substitute who doesn't have any additional training in special education isn't necessarily the best and the ideal one in a piece of education code that was written in 1980. And whether or not that's the superintendent with a capital S or the superintendent with a lowercase s, and the responsibilities therein, that remains to be seen. So I look forward to continued conversations with the CTC and maybe pulling in other experts, including special education at the Department of Education, to continue to see how else and what other mechanisms can we have to meet the needs of those students for continuity purposes.
Okay, don't see any hands. Okay, I do want to just ask a couple of weedy things. When it talks about school site support, for instance, I have let's say I had a resource teacher who was open school of 300 kids. There's only one resource teacher on that site. Would this language say I couldn't have a resource teacher from another site be that person's 2-hour-a-week mentor?
Exactly. The current language says school site-based certificated staff.
But it's not specific to the site where the sub is.
So the way I read that is that it's not a district office person. It is a person who has boots on the ground. Is that correct then?
Correct, but there is no requirement that the individual be aligned specifically with the area of the assignment.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, if we already pay for 2 hours and 15 minutes a week, I just don't want to have to pay twice. Okay, another question I have is, would it be possible, do you think, to bring back maybe at the next commission meeting, after having some interaction with the SPI or the office, whether there is something around 56061 that might be of interest?
We would be happy to work with our partners at the California Department of Education to see what we can do in this space. And we will come back with a report of that interaction and that collaboration in the next meeting.
I also would be interested in, I really, having done TPSL for 10 years now, I truly believe the in-service is much more valuable than the pre-service. So I really do support moving into time where it's actually more practical and pragmatic in terms of the training. So I like the 15 hours of pre-service and the 30 hours of in-service. Have found that to be more useful. In fact, I would even like TPSL to look similarly. So given all of our long conversation, do we have a motion?
Motion. Commissioner Simpson moved approval.
Move to approve both recommendations.
Yes.
Seconded by Mencius. And I have to put my glasses on and say, any further discussion from commissioners?
I would just like to add an additional ask. I support the motion moving forward. I just want to make sure that in addition to those unintended consequences, that we actively pursue conversations with our educational partners to really flesh out some of the concerns moving forward. So I just want to make sure we do that.
The motioner and the seconder.
You have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Cruz.
Yeah, I wanted to, the same comment that Commissioner Brown just said in regards to what are your thoughts in regards to what that engagement with the field is going to look like, and what mechanism are you can potentially have to explore the unintended consequences? Without assurances of that, I don't know that I can support this.
Hey, can we maybe break this into two pieces, because we can give direction without a vote, but we have a item on the table.
I think I just heard Commissioner Cruz say that his vote may be contingent upon the staff direction. I'm not sure. He's nodding. So.
Okay, so then do we want to handle staff direction first? I look around, see lots of nodding heads. So let's talk about that.
So with regard to the engagement, I believe Aaron shared that we had 30 points of engagement after the veto to this week. The preponderance of that engagement, 44%, was with employers. The remainder was with civil rights groups, with other agencies, including state board and legislative staff, and with our friends. So there has been a significant amount of staff time invested in collaboration. I just wanted to put that on the table. And we would be happy to continue those conversations. And to give you a little bit of an idea of what that looks like, we've shown up in person and we have presented ideas. We have received feedback. We have iterated the next day to go into another meeting. And so, there are many of the design features that you see in this proposal are actually responsive to the concerns of employer groups. And so you look at the initial starting point was, hey, let's do 45 hours pre-service. We heard pretty clearly, like, that's rough. And from teachers, is that andagogically sound, right? We had all kinds of great engagement around that and landed in a compromise point. We heard from employers that having somebody who is specifically credentialed for that sub-assignment is really hard, especially in rural districts where that person might not be available. And so in response to that, we moved it to being any credentialed person on a site. And the discussion around that was to build a flexible system of support around that substitute, so that if it's the AP dropping in the morning to talk about classroom management with them, if it's the ELD teacher to help them differentiate the lesson plans to language learners. So with that in mind, so we would be happy to continue our engagement. And if there's any direction from the commission about how that should look differently than it has, we would be more than happy to implement that.
Can I just add to that? I appreciate that kind of review of what our most recent history on this has been. I think that it would be advantageous to bring the Ed Coalition together in one room, to have a conversation. And so each of the members of that coalition can represent their viewpoint, and we're happy to facilitate that, to convene that. And I also think, and I appreciate, Commissioner Torres, your offer of more full engagement with the CDE. You have the Special Education Division and the statewide advisory body for special education. And I think that's an important conversation to have as we look at the rock or the boulder in the road here is how are we going to deal with this in special education where the need is great and where, as I understand it, teachers who are assigned to a special education classroom are quite often placed with some of our most extensive needs-based students. And so how do we navigate this space with IDEA as a broad framework for funding, with the Williams lawsuit as important case law that districts step around that at their own risk, and with existing law. So I think there's really some important information gathering here about what the options really are and what the needs really are in special education with these content experts and the Ed Coalition. Let's learn more about this together. And I think we do need to explore what unintended consequences are. And one of them that has been expressed is that moving forward with general education 60-day opportunities could undermine access to special education substitutes. And I don't know that that's a problem that the commission's regulations can resolve. I mean, that's happening at the local level. Who are you recruiting? What situations do you want them to go into? How are you preparing them to go into them? I think if there are unintended consequences, that might have more to do with practice than it does with licensing and policy. That's just me projecting into a space that I'd like to learn a lot more about. So, in any event, we would welcome the opportunity to convene with the Department of Education, the Special Education Advisory Group, and other experts, and the Ed Coalition, and see if we could just put this issue open for all of us to engage with, and we'll report back to you.
When we designed TIPSL, Aaron and I, 10 years ago, it was actually CSBA that was host of those conversations. Is there a way that we have all these rules around task force and subcommittees and all these different things. Can we convene a group like that?
We can convene a group like that at any point if you'd like them to be a named work group that we recruit and establish to look at this.
How did you do the input for like the added authorizations when you just, went everywhere and took whoever was?
I will defer to Scooble for that.
Or the supplementary and supplemental authorizations?
Oh, I was thinking back the added authorizations for special ed.
Unfortunately, cannot speak to that one. That was just a smidge before my time.
Okay, well then, never mind. I think that I'm hearing the commission direction is that kind of meeting be convened with the Ed Coalition and other partners, like for instance, we heard from the Equity Coalition, they invited.
Oh, absolutely. I think those who are interested in this work ought to be invited.
And schools, for example.
Absolutely.
Is that, we're not voting on this, but just in terms of, that is the direction of the commission? Okay, I see nodding hands and thumbs up. Okay, given that, I'm going to call, somebody asked to call the question. Commissioner Brown calls the question.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Jose Cardenas,
Aye.
Juan Cruz,
Aye.
Michael De La Torre,
Aye.
Laguna Shire,
Aye.
Aralette,
Aye.
Mencias,
Aye.
Mandy Redfern,
Aye.
David Simmons,
Aye.
Richard Simpson,
Aye.
Mike Torres, Fang Yusof, motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Google. Thanks very much. And having no additional items today, I adjourn the certification committee.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. I am assuming we want to break for lunch and then come back to the Fiscal Policy and Planning Committee. Is that correct, Executive Director Sandy?
That is correct.
What time would you like us to reconvene?
Make it 12, we can make it 1:20 if you like, give you minutes. We don't have closed session this afternoon, so we've got fiscal policy followed by the prep committee. And that's what the afternoon looks like. That's 4 additional items after.
So colleagues, 1:20, does that work for everyone? All right. I will see everyone at 1:20. Enjoy your lunch. Thank you for all your hard work today.